Chapter 3164. What should we do? Of course, we have to fight our way out. Ling Zhao's eyes lit up and he soared into the sky. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently. The chaotic fist print was fierce and overbearing. It swept across and instantly blasted the sky-burial ants in front of him. The sky-burying ant's physical body was incomparably tough and powerful. It possessed extreme speed. However, it was still unable to withstand Ling Zhao's ferocious and overbearing fist. Follow me closely. Ling Zhao roared. Like a sharp knife, he took the lead and charged out. Sush, sush, sush. Ba Dao, Tong Tong, Fairy Jinghong, and the rest followed Ling Zhao closely and charged into the swarm of sky-burial ants. Rumble. Blazing divine light rose and the void shook. The battle between the heaven-burial ant swarm and the many trial challengers and prodigies instantly erupted. In the sky-burial desert, sand and pebbles flew and the void shook. Terrifying fluctuations swept out in all directions as if they were going to bury all life. Tong Tong, are you ready? Ling Zhao asked Tong Tong after entering the swarm of sky-burial ants. Don't worry, brother Ling Zhao. I'm ready. I'm just waiting for your order. Tong Tong said with a smile. In that case, let's begin. Ling Zhao nodded and said, Buzz. In an instant, there seemed to be a long rainbow shooting out from Tong Tong's palm. It shone brightly and shrouded everyone in it. A ferocious aura burst out. In an instant, black armor appeared in the sky. Its shape was extremely strange and it covered everyone's body directly. When the divine light dissipated, Ling Zhao and the rest had disappeared. There were only a few sky-burial ants left on the spot. However, those sky-burial ants did not follow the swarm of sky-burial ants to kill the trial challengers. Instead, they kept retreating. The surrounding sky-burial ants seemed to be extremely fearful of them and they scattered to the sides like a tide. This is the shell of the sky-burial ants? Fairy Jinghong's incredulous voice rang in Ling Zhao's mind. That's right. This is the armor that Tong Tong refined from the shell of the heaven-burying ant king. Although it looks exactly the same as an ordinary heaven-burying ant, it possesses the pressure of the heaven-burying ant king and can suppress ordinary heaven-burying ants. Ling Zhao smiled faintly. You've made such ample preparations. Did you already know that Zhu Chen would deal with you? Fairy Jinghong found it hard to believe. I don't know who will deal with me, but no matter who it is, this heaven-burial ant colony is a surprise that I have left for him. Ling Zhao said indifferently. This guy, Jinghong Fairy, was a little depressed. She had thought that Ling Zhao was arrogant, but she did not expect Ling Zhao to have schemed against everyone. Once the heaven-burial ant swarm moved out, more than 80% of the trial takers would probably die. In the blink of an eye, he had killed so many powerful enemies. How could someone with such a temperament be arrogant and conceited? What kind of person is he? Fairy Jinghong's beautiful eyes glowed with a strong sense of curiosity. Everyone, speed up. Our heaven-burial ant armor can only temporarily confuse the heaven-burying ants, but it can't fool the heaven-burying ant king. We will definitely be hunted down by the heaven-burying ant king later. The most important thing now is to escape the siege of the ant swarm. Ling Zhao's face suddenly turned serious as he spoke with a solemn expression. Yes. Ba Dao and the others nodded and immediately sped up. Many trial takers and sky prides were now in a tough battle. Each of them unleashed their powerful combat strength and fought the heaven-burial ant swarm. However, there were simply too many heaven-burial ants. The strange liquid that Tong Tong refined from the corpses of the 7 heaven-burying ant kings not only attracted the heaven-burying ants, but it also completely aroused the hatred in their hearts. In addition, the sky-burying ants had extremely potent sky-burying poison. Many trial challengers and geniuses eventually died in the sky-burying ant swarm after a tough battle. Damn it! Ling Zhao Ba Dao, I won't let you off. There was no longer a trace of calmness on Zhu Chen's face. He was extremely gloomy and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was besieged by 4 sky-burying ant kings. Divine light blazed all around him, dazzling and resplendent. Moreover, The sky-burying poison enveloped his surroundings like a cloud. Although his battle prowess was great, and he was constantly fighting against the sky-burying ant kings, he was still trapped for a time, unable to break free at all. Feng Fan and Ing Ilong were also entangled with the heaven-burying ant kings. Zhu Chen, Ing Ilong, and the others were extremely anxious when they saw the increasing number of heaven-burying ants. At that moment, Ling Xiao and the others had already silently escaped to the edge of the ant swarm. An earth-shattering roar was heard. The heaven-burying ant king in the void was shining with golden light as if it was cast from gold. Its extremely cold eyes suddenly landed on Ling Xiao and the others. They had been discovered. After all, a few black heaven-burying ants had a weak ant king's aura. How could this be hidden from the heaven-burying ant king? The dozen or so sky-burying ant kings were completely enraged. Killing intent surged in their eyes. They sensed the aura of the sky-burying ant king's death and immediately charged towards Ling Xiao's group recklessly. They were like golden bolts of lightning, extremely fast. Oh no! We have been discovered. Let's split up. Fairy Jinghong, protect Tong Tong. Ba Dao and I will lure them away. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he hurriedly said, swoosh, swoosh. He and Ba Dao instantly increased their speed and moved out of the encirclement of the heaven-burying ant kings. Then, like two arrows leaving the bow, they shot towards the distance quickly. Rumble! The dozen heaven-burying ant kings actually split into two groups. Only two ant kings led a large number of heaven-burying ants to chase after Fairy Jinghong and the others. Most of the heaven-burying ant kings chased after Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. After all, Ba Dao was the culprit who had killed the 7 ant kings. These heaven-burying ant kings hated him to the core. Therefore, they immediately locked onto Ba Dao and treated him as their greatest enemy. This was what Ling Xiao and Ba Dao meant when they left alone. They were sure that most of the heaven-burying ant kings would chase after them. Tong Tong, let's go! Although Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with worry, she gritted her teeth and instantly grabbed Tong Tong's hand. Then, she fled in another direction with the Firmament Tower Master and the Feather Tribe. Sister Jinghong, don't worry. With brother Ling Xiao and my brother together, they will definitely be fine. Tong Tong was not worried at all. He patted Fairy Jinghong's arm and comforted her with a smile. You have confidence in them. Let's leave this place first. Fairy Jinghong said with a helpless smile. Even though the two heaven-burying ant kings behind them were extremely powerful, they had significantly reduced the pressure on them. They were extremely fast. Even though the two heaven-burying ant kings were still chasing after them, they soon escaped the encirclement of the heaven-burying ant kings and flew towards the boundless desert. Chapter 3165. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao were extremely fast. They were like two bolts of lightning as they traversed the burial desert. Without the encirclement of the sky-burying ants, they displayed their extreme speed. They traveled thousands of miles in an instant, causing the void to emit a series of explosions. However, the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind them were also extremely fast. Ling Xiao saw that they had grown a pair of cicada-like wings on their backs. This allowed them to possess strength that was not inferior to Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's. In the blink of an eye, they were 1,000,000 miles away from each other. The burial desert was vast and boundless. Yellow sand and gobi were eternal themes. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had only encountered 2 or 3 scattered oases over 1,000,000 miles of land. The burial desert was filled with danger. There were all kinds of primitive exotic beasts. However, no primitive exotic beast dared to attack Ling Xiao and Ba Dao during their escape. They had hidden long ago after sensing the aura of the sky-burying ant kings. The sky-burying ant kings were the undisputed overlords of the burial desert. Big brother, we can't keep running like this. Why don't we stop and fight them? Ba Dao's eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight as he spoke to Ling Xiao. You're right. We can't keep running like this. However, I still feel an indescribable sense of danger. It's hidden in the burial desert. No matter how we run, we can't escape from that sense of danger. Therefore, now is not a good time to fight. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. He was extremely sensitive to danger, especially after he had become an emperor with the 12 great Tao origins. His understanding of fate and karma had deepened, and he could sense those existences in the unseen world. Ling Xiao could sense that the danger didn't come from the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind him. Instead, it came from the depths of the burial desert. Danger? Ba Dao frowned slightly. That's right. I'm guessing that apart from the dozen sky-burying ant kings behind us, there's something else following us in the depths of the burial desert. Ling Xiao nodded and said, "The depths of the burial desert? Could it be?" Ba Dao's body shook. His eyes suddenly revealed a trace of disbelief. "What do you think?" Ling Xiao asked. "Big brother, I've heard that the most terrifying thing in the burial desert is the heavenly burial ants. No primeval beast dares to provoke the heavenly burial ants. The heavenly burial ants come in an endless stream. I don't know how many thousands of them there are. But do you know where they come from?" Ba Dao's expression was extremely solemn, and he said slowly, "According to legend, there's a heaven burial ant queen in the burial desert, and all the heaven burial ants are her descendants and are under the command of the heaven burial ant queen. Even the heaven-burying ant king is the descendant of the heaven-burying ant queen. Sky-burying ant queen? You wouldn't be trying to tell me that it was the heaven burial ant queen that pursued us in the burial desert, right?" Ling Xiao couldn't help but be shocked. The heaven-burying ant king was already so powerful. Moreover, he could easily dispatch 36 heaven-burying ant kings. Just how powerful was the heaven-burying ant queen? Peerless monarch? Or a supreme great emperor? Ling Xiao shook his head and rejected this idea. The buried sky ant queen was definitely not a great emperor because it was impossible for a great emperor to exist on the eternal emperor road. This was the rule of the heavenly Tao. Even a great emperor couldn't defy this rule. Otherwise, those supreme great emperors would swarm into the eternal emperor road in search of the secret of transcendence. It wouldn't be these young supreme geniuses who would enter the eternal emperor road. However, even a peerless monarch would be difficult to deal with. The octopus queen's power was still vivid in his mind. Ling Xiao had no doubt that if the heaven-burying ant queen existed, she would definitely be far more terrifying than the octopus queen. "It's very possible," Ba Dao said. "If the heaven-burying ant queen is really pursuing us, why would she hide in the burial desert and not show herself?" Ling Xiao asked. Ba Dao was also a little confused and said uncertainly, "Could it be that she can't leave the burial desert? That should be a possibility. No matter what, let's get rid of the danger in the desert first." Ling Xiao said slowly, his eyes shining brightly. Swoosh, swoosh. The two of them unleashed their extreme speed, and more than a dozen heaven-burying ant kings followed closely behind them. In the blink of an eye, they had flown tens of millions of miles. "Ba Dao, I found a problem. Every time we come across an oasis, forest, or lake, the existence in the burial desert will deliberately avoid it." Ling Xiao transmitted his voice to Ba Dao. "Deliberately avoid it? You're saying that the heaven-burying ant queen is afraid of oases, forests, and lakes?" Ba Dao asked. "To be precise, it should be afraid of life. It's the same for the dozen heaven-burying ant kings, but they should be less affected. We need to verify it again. If that's the case, I think I've found a way to get rid of these heaven-burying ant kings." Ling Xiao said slowly. "We're very far away from the heaven-burying ant colony. However, if the heaven-burying ant queen is in the desert, we can't rule out new dangers. The best way is to kill those heaven-burying ant kings once and for all." Ba Dao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. "You'll get what you want." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. They flew for another few million miles, and the verification in Ling Xiao's heart was gradually confirmed. The existence in the burial desert was indeed afraid of life. That kind of fear was different from the fear of the heaven-burying ant kings. The existence in the desert would automatically avoid an oasis when it was tens of thousands of feet away. In this way, Ling Xiao could choose to fight the heaven-burying ant kings with ease. Rumble! A terrifying storm swept across the land in front of them. It was mixed with blazing lightning and contained an extremely violent and destructive aura. "Charge over!" A A sharp glint flashed in Ling Zhao's eyes as he roared. Without the slightest hesitation, he charged over. Ba Dao also followed closely behind. Rumble. The blazing teardrop struck Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Chaotic light rose around Ling Zhao's body. His body was indestructible, and the destructive lightning couldn't do any harm to him. On the other hand, Ba Dao was surrounded by blazing saber radiance. It was like a boundary that completely enveloped him, blocking the attack of the wind and lightning. However, their speed wasn't affected at all. They charged out of the storm in an instant. Ba Dao's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. A vast forest appeared in front of him and Ling Xiao. It was green and full of vitality. It stretched as far as the eye could see. Chapter 3166. The forest was filled with towering ancient trees. Trees that were hundreds of meters tall and even thousands of meters tall could be seen everywhere. It was shrouded in mist and rays of light. It looked extremely dreamy. The thunderstorm that Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had passed through was like a barrier between life and death. It had completely separated the forest from the burial desert. That is the burial place that we have chosen for the burial ants. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with an extremely strong fighting spirit. Buzz. At that moment he and Ba Dao heard the sound of something tearing through the air behind them. The dozen burial ant kings had also passed through the thunderstorm. Let's go! Ling Xiao shouted. Instantly he and Ba Dao dashed into the vast forest in front of them. Rumble. After a while, 16 burial ant kings that were hundreds of meters tall appeared in their original position. Their bodies looked as though they were cast in gold. They were dazzling with golden light and exuded an extremely powerful aura. They have entered the forbidden forest. What should we do? We are not allowed to enter the forbidden forest. Otherwise, we will be in big trouble. But what about the revenge of our brothers? That damned enemy is in the forbidden forest. Are we going to give up just like that? The Saint Empress is just outside the forbidden forest. Why don't we ask the Saint Empress to make a decision? That is the only way. The 16 burial ant kings' eyes were blood red. Their killing intent was overwhelming. Powerful mental fluctuations intertwined with each other as they communicated. Facing the mysterious forest in front of them, they hesitated. At the same time, Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had already entered the forest. They stopped outside the forest. Could it be that they are afraid of the forest and don't dare to enter? Ba Dao said in surprise. That should be the case. If the burial ant queen in the desert is afraid of life, then they might be afraid of the forest. However, I have a feeling that the burial ant queen is up to no good. We can't let the dozen burial ant kings go just like that. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Then should we lure them in? Ba Dao said eagerly. He was a battle maniac in his bones, and he never knew what fear was. Facing the 16 sky-burying ant kings, not only was he not afraid at all, but his heart was also burning with fighting spirit. Previously, he had used the forbidden blade to kill 7 sky burial ant kings. Now that he had teamed up with Ling Xiao, he might be able to kill the 16 sky burial ant kings as well. These 16 heaven-burying ant kings might know something about the heaven-burying ant queen. Killing them should help us explore the heaven-burying desert. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed sharply. Get ready for battle. Then, a bright light shone from his palm. In an instant, a bunch of messy things were thrown out by him. Rumble. The heaven-devouring fire rose from his palm, blazing and dazzling. It instantly enveloped those messy things, and then began to burn fiercely. The bodies of the 16 sky-burying ant kings involuntarily trembled. The murderous intent in their eyes instantly soared to the extreme. They went completely berserk. Big brother, you're too ruthless. Ba Dao's eyelids twitched as he licked his lips. His eyes were filled with an extremely strong fighting spirit. He finally realized that the messy things that Ling Xiao had thrown out were the severed limbs of the 7 sky-burial ant kings that he had killed. After the 7 heaven-burying ant kings were killed by Ba Dao, Tong Tong used a portion of their bodies to create a liquid that attracted the heaven-burying ants, as well as a heaven-bearing ant armor that concealed their auras. The remaining limbs were all given to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's actions were simply provocative. Throwing out the severed limbs of the 7 sky-burying ant kings wasn't enough. He had even triggered the heaven-devouring fire and burned them completely. The severed limbs of the 7 sky-burying ant kings were quickly reduced to ashes. The anger of the 16 sky-burying ant kings completely erupted. Roar, "You're courting death. Kill them." The 16 sky-burying ant kings were completely enraged. They had the intelligence of a normal human, and they also had various emotions. After being provoked by Ling Xiao, they immediately forgot about the forbidden forest and only had one thing on their minds. That was to kill Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Rumble. The 16 sky-burying ant kings burst forth with terrifying and dazzling light at the same time. They were like 16 dazzling suns as they rumbled towards Ling Xiao and Ba Dao to suppress them. "Big brother, do you dare to compete and see who can kill more?" The sharpness in Ba Dao's eyes instantly became extremely bright. "Let's try." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Rumble. Ba Dao couldn't help but make the first move. An earth-shattering saber radiance instantly expanded in the void. It was dazzling like the Milky Way descending from the 9 heavens. It contained an extremely powerful saber intent as it shrouded the sky-burying ant kings. Ba Dao's body exuded boundless saber intent as his aura rose to the extreme. His entire body exuded a domineering and ancient aura. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. At this moment, he actually showed signs of breaking through to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. Is he about to break through? Very good. Ling Xiao's eyes lit up as he muttered to himself softly. Rumble. Ling Xiao's chaotic fist print was unparalleled as he faced the sky-burying ant kings that were charging towards him. Although Ling Xiao was only a middle-level Imperial Emperor, he did not seem to take the group of sky-burying ant kings seriously at all. The unparalleled chaotic fist print pressed down like a mountain and instantly collided with one of the sky-burying ant kings. The sky-bearing ant king's forelimbs were extremely sharp and shone with a dazzling golden radiance. When they collided with Ling Xiao's chaotic fist print, blazing sparks instantly erupted. However, an unparalleled divine power attacked and the sky-bearing ant king was sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Its sharp forelimbs could not cause any harm to Ling Xiao at all. It only left a white mark on Ling Xiao's fist. Kill! Ling Xiao's roar was like divine thunder from the 9 heavens as it rumbled. He pushed the chaotic light forward, and the void around him shook. 3,000 worlds appeared, and the primordial immortal body was fully activated by him. His entire body exploded with a strong divine might, and it pressed down on the sky-burying ant king. Although the sky-bearing ant king was hundreds of feet tall, he felt extremely small at this moment. It was as if he was facing an invincible emperor in the primordial immortal world. In an instant, several sky-bearing ant kings that wanted to fight Ling Xiao head-on were sent flying by Ling Xiao. They crashed heavily into the forest in the distance, smashing dozens of towering ancient trees into dust. The void shook and the earth rumbled. Chapter 3167. Boom. Ling Xiao was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus, pushing the sun, moon, and stars as he moved. His body exuded an unparalleled and vast fist aura. He attacked from the sky. Every punch he threw could send the sky-burying ant king flying. The sky-burying ant king's strength was extremely terrifying. Even an ordinary high-level Imperial Emperor might die in the sky-burying ant king's hands. However, the sky-bearing ant king did not pose much of a threat to Ling Xiao. The sky-bearing ant king's most powerful sky-bearing poison had no effect on Ling Xiao. The sky-bearing ant king's tough shell could not withstand Ling Xiao's unparalleled fist. The sky-bearing ant king had divine strength and was good at close combat. However, it encountered Ling Xiao, whose physical body was even more terrifying. Naturally, it was extremely tragic. Most importantly, Ling Xiao realized that the sky-burying ant king seemed to be suppressed in this forest. Its strength had decreased significantly. There's something strange about this forest. A thought appeared in Ling Zhao's mind. Rumble. His fists traversed the void. One fist was for destruction while the other fist was for vitality. The fist of epic and the fist of creation alternated. It was unstoppable, as if it could penetrate everything. The tough shell of the sky-burying ant king was shattered by his fist. The golden runes exploded and faint golden blood flowed out. The sky-burying ant king roared furiously in pain. Golden flames seemed to rise around his body as he charged toward Ling Zhao. Kill! Ling Zhao's eyes were like iron. His figure was extremely fast. He pointed in the air and a finger light pierced through the void, causing the surrounding space to distort violently. He arrived in front of the sky-burying ant king in an instant. Blood filled the air. Ling Zhao's finger was extremely fast. It contained the power of time and destruction. It directly pierced through the sky-burying ant king's eyes and pierced its head. Age Destruction Finger. Ling Zhao used the unparalleled divine strength of an imperial emperor to perform the Age Destruction Finger. An extremely terrifying power erupted and instantly blew up the sky-burying ant king's head. Rumble. Sky-devouring fire rose around Ling Zhao and enveloped the sky-burying ant king in an instant. It began to roast its flesh and blood and pulled out its primordial spirit and suppressed it. A heaven-burying ant king had fallen. The remaining heaven-burying ant kings were both shocked and furious. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They could feel that Ling Zhao's cultivation aura was not strong, but they could not figure out why Ling Zhao's strength was so terrifying. Ling Zhao had killed a sky-burying ant king. Not only was this not enough to frighten them, but it also made them even more ferocious. All of them charged towards Ling Zhao without any fear of death. Boom, boom, boom. Towering ancient trees exploded one after another. Terrifying shockwaves swept out in all directions, causing the ground to rumble as spiderweb-like cracks appeared. On the other side, Ba Dao's aura had also risen to its peak. His eyes were filled with an incomparably powerful fighting spirit. He already had the experience of fighting against the sky-burying ant kings. Furthermore, he had killed his way out of the sky-burying desert and even killed 7 sky-burying ant kings. Now that he was facing even more sky-burying ant kings, even though they posed an even greater threat to him, it also gave him an opportunity to break through. Rumble. Saber intent rose from Ba Dao's body. His eyes were incomparably sharp. He seemed to have transformed into a peerless demonic saber, exuding an unparalleled aura. The radiance around his body was resplendent, and his aura became more and more terrifying. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. He did not use the forbidden saber. Instead, he used various emperor techniques such as the heavenly tyrant slash to fight against his enemies. It was hard to tell who would win the battle against the sky-burying ant kings. In Ba Dao's eyes, an incomparably powerful saber intent condensed and gradually turned into a black saber light. The saber light seemed illusory in the beginning. However, it began to solidify in the end. When the saber light finally solidified, Ba Dao's aura rose to its peak. Break! He suddenly let out a loud roar, his eyes filled with incomparably maniacal killing intent. The aura around him rose like a surging river. His cultivation instantly broke through from the 6th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm. An advanced Imperial Emperor. Although it was only a small breakthrough, it was a qualitative leap. Especially for a peerless sky pride like Ba Dao. The sky-burying ant kings in front of him had made him feel extremely pressured. However, that pressure seemed to have disappeared now. Now, the hunt begins. The corner of Ba Dao's mouth curled into a cruel killing intent. Rumble. The killing intent around him was extremely terrifying. It contained dark, brutal, frenzied, and ancient fluctuations. It was like a chaos demon god that had been suppressed in hell for hundreds of millions of years had broken out. He exuded an insufferably arrogant aura. Avicii Hell's demon burial saber. Ba Dao gently spat out a few incomparably cryptic syllables. The killing intent around him instantly boiled to the extreme. A black saber light cut across the sky. It contained extreme killing power. The darkness was extremely dense. The sky-bearing ant king in front of Ba Dao did not seem to be able to resist at all. It was instantly cut in half by the saber. Boom! Just as the sky-bearing ant king was cut in half, the primordial spirit of the sky-bearing ant king shattered instantly. It turned into an extremely cold corpse that fell from the void. The first one. Ba Dao's eyes, which were filled with killing intent, landed on the remaining sky-bearing ant kings. In an instant, a black saber light rushed over again like a black saber light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The black saber light seemed to be able to shatter everything. The sky-bearing ant king's sturdy outer shell was unable to withstand Ba Dao's forbidden saber. The taboo saber contained the legendary taboo power, the power of transcendence. It was an invincible saber technique. If Ling Xiao had not had so many trump cards in his previous battle with Ba Dao, he would have been caught off guard and died under the forbidden saber. Ling Xiao finally understood why Ba Dao had been able to kill 7 sky-bearing ant kings consecutively and escape Burial Desert. The forbidden saber was indeed terrifying. Rumble. Ling Xiao was shocked by the forbidden saber's terror. However, he did not show any dissatisfaction when he attacked. The chaotic fist print pierced through the void and sealed off the escape route of one of the sky-bearing ant kings. In the end, it pressed down from the sky and blasted the sky-bearing ant king into dust. Brute force defeats 10. Ling Xiao's physical body was unparalleled and he possessed indescribably terrifying divine power. Even the great desolation beasts could not be compared to him. Therefore, the sky-bearing ant kings were merely slightly stronger targets in front of him. Rumble. Ling Xiao's fist print was unparalleled as it swept through the sky-bearing ant kings. None of the sky-bearing ant kings were a match for him. However, in terms of efficiency in killing the sky-bearing ant kings, he was far inferior to Ba Dao. Ba Dao's cultivation had broken through to the 7th heaven of the Imperial Lord Realm. When he executed the Avicii Hell's demon burial saber, he seemed to have transformed into the god of slaughter. The saber light was unparalleled and in the blink of an eye, 5 sky-bearing ant kings had died under his saber. The remaining sky-bearing ant kings were finally afraid. Although they were not afraid of death, they still felt despair and terror in the face of such an extreme massacre. The battle intent in their hearts began to dissipate slowly. Chapter 3168. Let's go. The 2 of them are too powerful. Saint Empress, please kill them. As long as they are in Burial Desert, they will definitely die. The eyes of the remaining sky-bearing ant kings were filled with both shock and anger. They wanted to fly out of the forbidden forest. You want to leave? Not so fast. Ba Dao's eyes were filled with killing intent. The saber essence around him was blazing like a black sea that covered the sky. The Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber was strange and could destroy everything. In Ba Dao's hands, it exploded with unimaginable power. In an instant, another burial ant king could not dodge in time and was cut in half by Ba Dao. His primordial spirit was destroyed and he died. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ba Dao's speed was extremely fast. The saber radiance intertwined like an inescapable net that blocked the escape route of the burial ant kings. Rumble. Ling Xiao's fist prints were unparalleled. Every punch was like an ancient divine mountain that suppressed everything and sent the burial ant kings flying. Under the combined efforts of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, the sky-bearing ant kings were actually trapped in the forest. They were unable to charge into the thunderstorm behind them. At that moment, an earth-shattering roar exploded in Burial Desert behind the thunderstorm. The terrifying sound wave spread out and caused the thunderstorm to tremble violently. It contained a majestic and mysterious fluctuation. After hearing the roar, all the ant kings seemed to have gone completely berserk. They desperately tried to escape from the forest. Is it the burial ant queen? Ba Dao's eyes flashed with light. It should be. However, there is a tinge of anxiety and fear in the burial ant queen's voice. Could something have happened? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat and he suddenly looked at the forest in the distance. Rumble. In the middle of the forest, a bright green light rose up, containing a tremendous amount of life force. It surged forward like a huge wave. Most importantly, the green light was silent and had escaped Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's senses. If they had not seen it with their eyes, they would have missed it. The green light that swept over caused the eyes of the sky-burying ant kings to be filled with intense fear. At this moment, outside the thunderstorm, the heaven-burying ant queen's roars grew more and more anxious. Burying heaven ant king is afraid of the green light? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. However, Ling Xiao did not feel any threat from the green light. Instead, he felt comfortable all over. Rumble. The sky-bearing ant kings all had crazed looks in their eyes. In the face of the threat of death, they charged fearlessly at the defensive line set up by Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. However, under the combined efforts of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao, they were still able to keep them in the forest, preventing them from charging into the thunderstorm. Boom! The green light surged forward silently like a tide. It was extremely quick too. Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and the rest of the sky-bearing ant kings were enveloped by it in an instant. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao shuddered as they felt the green light surge into their bodies. It turned into an extremely powerful life origin that flowed through their bodies in an instant. The life origin in the green light was extremely vast. It was purer than any life origin that Ling Xiao and Ba Dao had ever seen. The two of them felt like they were being nourished and baptized by life. However, the sky-bearing ant kings were not so lucky. The sky-bearing ant kings trembled violently as the green light washed over them. Cracks appeared on their tough golden carapaces. The black sky-bearing poison that seeped out made them even more miserable. Their flesh began to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye. "Brother, look at the corpses of the sky-burying ant kings," Ba Dao said hurriedly. Ling Xiao suddenly turned his head and saw that the corpses of the sky-burying ant kings seemed to be corroded. They sizzled and disappeared without a trace. They had completely merged with the green light. Even the sky-burying ant kings that were still alive were in a miserable state. Their bodies were invaded by the green light. They were in so much pain that they wanted to die. They cried out in agony. The life origin in the green light is actually so effective against the sky-burying ant kings? Ling Xiao thought to himself. His eyes flickered. He immediately made his move. His finger pierced the sky-burying ant king's head like a bolt of lightning. Chains of orders soared into the sky, trapping the heaven-bearing ant king's soul and dragging it over. Rumble. At this moment, the terrifying green light became completely enraged as if it had a mind of its own. The green light surged and burned fiercely like a flame. It enveloped the sky-bearing ant king's body and soul. It even spread towards Ling Xiao through the chains of order. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered sharply. Scorching chaotic light rose up around him at that moment. A powerful force suppressed the green light. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the green light that surged into Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's body burst into flames. It turned into a strange green flame that surrounded them. As I thought, the life origin is just an illusion. I would like to see what it is that can confuse even me. Ling Xiao said with a hollow laugh. Rumble. Lightning blazed around him. A magnificent heavenly might loomed over him. The force of heavenly punishment completely extinguished the green flames. He had attacked the sky-bearing ant king's soul because he was suspicious. He wanted to test it out. He now realized that there was indeed something wrong with the green light. The feeling of the life origin surging into his body was just an illusion. It had managed to fool Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's senses. As Ling Xiao made his move, the green light felt threatened. It immediately attacked the two of them. "Big brother, these green lights are all creepy little bugs. Could it be that they were born from this forest?" Ba Dao said with a solemn expression. He used the forbidden saber. The strange green light seemed to be extremely afraid of his forbidden saber. It was destroyed by the saber light. At this moment, Ba Dao realized that the green light was extremely strange insects. It was difficult to see them clearly with the naked eye, but they were extremely ferocious. Even someone as strong as the sky-bearing ant king could not do anything to the green light. It died in an instant and turned into nutrients. Rumble. The green light was like a violent wave that swept out in an instant. It turned into two huge storms that swept Ling Xiao and Ba Dao up and carried them into the depths of the forest. Chapter 3169. Rumble. Lightning blazed all around them, and the light was resplendent. The strange green light completely enveloped Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Moreover, the two of them headed towards the depths of the forbidden forest. This is the forbidden forest? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a bright light. He and Ba Dao discovered that the strange green light contained an unimaginably terrifying power. It was like a prison that imprisoned the two of them within it. They were unable to escape for a time. However, Ling Xiao did not feel any danger. He seized this opportunity to start soul-searching the soul of the heaven-burying ant king that he'd suppressed. Even though its memories were extremely scattered, it still allowed him to find some information related to this forest. Taboo Forest. The sky-burying ants called this forest the Taboo Forest. Although the sky-burying ants were the overlords of the sky-burying desert, only the Taboo Forest was their taboo territory. They were deeply afraid of the Taboo Forest. Previously, if it wasn't for Ling Xiao's provocation and the fact that Ba Dao had killed 7 heaven burial ant kings and had a deep enmity with the heaven burial ant kings, those heaven burial ant kings might not have dared to chase after them. In the memories of the sky-burying ant king, the Taboo Forest was a synonym for terror, strangeness, and death. No sky-burying ant dared to enter it. Anyone who entered the Taboo Forest would encounter all sorts of mishaps in the end. However, the sky-burying ant king did not know exactly what dangers lay within the forbidden forest. However, they did have a sky-burying ant queen, and that ant queen should know some details about the forbidden forest. Rumble. Ba Dao's saber intent boiled around him. The saber light was dazzling as it continuously slashed in all directions. He wanted to cut through the strange green light that enveloped them. However, when his saber intent collided with the green light around him, it was as if he had slashed a hard mountain wall. Sparks flew everywhere. Don't waste your energy. This strange green light was enveloped by a type of heavenly Tao law and was very difficult to break. Let's see where this strange green light is taking us. Ling Xiao stopped Ba Dao and said slowly, "Big brother, even the heaven-burying ant is afraid of this strange green light. Moreover, it is the heaven-burying ant's nemesis. Could it be left behind by a great emperor?" Ba Dao asked curiously. The two of them seemed to be in a space with a radius of about 10 feet. Their surroundings were shrouded in a vast and mysterious green light, like a huge wave, surging violently, pushing them towards the depths of the forbidden forest. Although they couldn't break through the surrounding space, they could vaguely see the situation inside the forbidden forest. There were many powerful beasts in the forbidden forest, and some of them had already gone extinct in the universe. There was a gigantic ape taller than a mountain, a gigantic dragon with a pair of wings on its back, a gigantic crocodile tens of thousands of feet long, a gigantic white tiger with a sharp sword on its head, and a black chelan with a body as black as ink. The auras of those beasts were extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao could sense that most of them were at the Imperial Emperor realm. However, after seeing the green light, those strange beasts looked as if they had seen a ghost. They turned around and fled in terror. Even those strange beasts that couldn't escape in time were swept up by the green light. Their flesh and blood instantly dissipated, and their bodies shook violently. Then, they gradually disappeared within the green light. This scene caused Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's scalps to go numb. The green light contained a vast amount of life essence, but it was like a fatal poison that could bury all life. Ling Xiao and Ba Dao didn't know how long they had been swept away by the green light. Rumble. When a resplendent light rose in front of their eyes, the void shook and distorted violently, and the scene before them gradually became clear. Ba Dao's body suddenly shook, and a trace of disbelief appeared in his eyes. In front of them was a chaotic fog. It was as if they had come to the depths of the earth, and it was extremely dark. However, in the endless chaotic fog, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. It was a middle-aged man in a green robe. Green light rose around his body, and it contained a vast amount of life aura. It made him look lifelike. His face was handsome, and his skin was translucent like glass. His eyes were deep and bright, and they landed on Ling Xiao and Ba Dao's bodies. In an instant, Ling Xiao and Ba Dao felt like they had been seen through. The middle-aged man in the Taoist robe exuded a vast and eternal saber essence. He was like a peerless divine saber, immortal and indestructible. However, for some reason, Ling Xiao felt that the figure was very unreal. It was like a projection. "Brother, this is the forbidden saber spirit." Ba Dao's eyes were filled with excitement as he spoke to Ling Xiao. "Forbidden saber spirit? What's that?" Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help but ask. Could it be related to the forbidden saber? After bringing Ling Xiao and Ba Dao to this place, the strange green light around them dispersed and merged into the body of the middle-aged man in the green robe in front of them. A dense mist rose, mysterious and unfathomable. "Brother, the legendary forbidden saber has a total of 4 saber techniques. The Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber that I practice is one of them. These 4 saber techniques gave birth to the 4 forbidden saber spirits, which contain the true meaning of the forbidden saber. Only by merging with the forbidden saber spirits can one practice the forbidden saber. Therefore, those who practice the forbidden saber cannot pass the saber techniques to others unless they are killed and the forbidden saber spirits are forced out of their bodies before merging with them. Moreover, each person can only practice one forbidden saber technique. I already have the Avicii Hell Demon's burial saber. The forbidden saber spirit in front of you is prepared for you. Congratulations." Ba Dao said sincerely. His eyes were filled with excitement. "Forbidden saber?" Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He was not in a hurry to go forward. Instead, he observed the figure in front of him carefully. No wonder he felt that the middle-aged man in the green robe was very unreal. It turned out that he was not a real living being, but a saber spirit evolved from the forbidden saber. However, brother, you must be careful. Merging with the forbidden saber spirit is also a matter of life and death. The forbidden saber spirit is unruly and extremely terrifying. If you are not careful, not only will you not be able to merge with the forbidden saber spirit, you might even become a saber slave. Ba Dao reminded him. I see. In that case, the heaven burial ant is afraid of the forbidden saber spirit? Ling Xiao said slowly. It should be. The forbidden saber spirit contains a forbidden force that can annihilate everything. Furthermore, the 4 forbidden saber spirits have different powers. It's a force that is more terrifying than a monarch technique. It's reasonable for the heaven burial ant to be afraid of the forbidden saber spirit. I suspect that I utilized the taboo saber during the battle with the heaven burying ant and drew the attention of the taboo saber spirit. That's why it brought us here. Ba Dao explained. Chapter 3170. The taboo saber spirit floated in the void before Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. It looked lifelike, like a powerful living being that was cultivating in seclusion. However, it was not a real living being, but a manifestation of the taboo saber skill. It was extremely powerful and indestructible. Ling Xiao naturally coveted the taboo saber. However, Ba Dao could not pass it to him, so he felt a little regretful. Now, the taboo saber spirit had appeared before him. However, it was not easy to merge with the taboo saber spirit and pass the saber spirit's test. Ba Dao had merged with the taboo saber spirit and cultivated the taboo saber, but he had a narrow escape. His soul had almost been destroyed and he would never be reincarnated. After Ba Dao told Ling Xiao about the taboo saber spirit, Ling Xiao walked towards the taboo saber spirit. The taboo saber spirit floated in the void, surrounded by chaotic fog. Green light rose and a powerful life force surged. At the same time, it was accompanied by an unfathomable and vast saber essence. When Ling Xiao walked towards the taboo saber spirit seemed to have awakened. Its gaze was like a bright blade that pierced towards Ling Xiao. Boom! In an instant, Ling Xiao felt as if the world had been split open. The bright saber radiance was dazzling. It split the world and slashed towards him. The saber radiance seemed to have pierced through time and space. It was invisible and formless as it slashed towards Ling Zhao's primordial spirit. Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly. His majestic primordial spirit power rose. The dozens of origin Dao fruits around him intertwined with each other like an inescapable net that enveloped his primordial spirit. Moreover, the saber origin within it rose instantly. It was like a primordial spirit saber that was dazzling. Clang. The two saber radiances collided in Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. Sparks flew everywhere, causing his sea of consciousness to shake violently. In the end, the saber radiance was annihilated. It did not cause any damage to Ling Zhao's primordial spirit. However, this was just the beginning. As Ling Zhao walked towards the taboo saber spirit, the taboo saber spirit emitted a terrifying saber essence that was like the power of the heavens. It suppressed Ling Zhao. The strange green light around Ling Zhao's body instantly turned into fine saber radiance. It seemed to be able to destroy everything as it slashed towards Ling Zhao. The surrounding void vibrated, and saber light rose, as if it had turned into a saber domain. The center of Ling Zhao's brow shone brightly. The origin of the saber emerged, causing the saber will to surge around him. It continued to clash with the saber light around him. Rumble. Ling Zhao walked toward the forbidden saber spirit with great difficulty. The horrifying saber intent that the taboo saber spirit emitted was even stronger than Ba Dao's taboo saber. The green saber light had even cut through his flesh and blood and surged into his body, wanting to destroy all of his life force. He could even feel the crisp sound of the green blade cutting into his bones. Ling Zhao felt as if his entire body was about to be completely shattered in this blade domain. A mere saber spirit dares to attack its master? Ling Zhao's voice was thunderous, and his eyes were sharp. Chaotic light rose around him as he radiated with an extremely terrifying aura. In an instant, he tore through the saber light and charged toward the forbidden saber spirit. Dao fruits appeared around him one after another, causing him to exude an aura of invulnerability. A vast devouring power rose and devoured all of the green saber light. Ling Zhao's aura became sharper, like a piece of rock that was gradually being forged into a peerless divine saber. Ba Dao stood in the distance to protect Ling Zhao. His eyes were filled with anticipation. The second taboo saber has appeared. When the fourth taboo saber appears, it should be time for the secret of transcendence, right? Ba Dao thought to himself. The expedition to Eternal Emperor's Road this time was destined to be the most tragic one since ancient times. Countless geniuses had gathered in this era, not only to become an emperor, but also to transcend. For the past 108 eras, countless great emperors and powerful beings had been pursuing the supreme realm. It was about to appear in this era. Ba Dao was naturally looking forward to it. He watched Ling Zhao walking toward the forbidden saber spirit. The terrifying saber intent that the forbidden saber spirit emitted was unable to inflict any damage to Ling Zhao. Instead, it was like a whetstone that sharpened Ling Zhao's saber further. In the end, Ling Zhao arrived before the forbidden saber spirit. "You're here," the forbidden saber spirit said calmly as it fixed its gaze on Ling Zhao. "I'm here." Ling Zhao nodded with a calm look. The forbidden saber spirit before him was extremely unique. It even had its own consciousness, but it could only unleash its power when it was attached to a supreme expert. He wondered how powerful the legendary transcendents were. Even the four saber arts that they had left behind were able to evolve their own consciousness. The forbidden saber is your fortune and destiny. I hope you'll be able to discover the secret of transcendence. The forbidden saber spirit said, giving Ling Zhao a thoughtful look. Bang! Without waiting for Ling Zhao's response, he instantly exploded and turned into a vast expanse of green light. It contained a vast amount of life essence and surged into Ling Zhao's body. At the same time, there was also an extremely sharp blade light within the majestic life essence. It came from the void and slashed toward the void. It was the power of the forbidden saber. Bang! Ling Zhao's divine sense felt like it was being opened up. At that instant, 7 ancient and mysterious words lined up and formed a peerless saber glow. Avicii Hell's heaven-burying saber. The 7 words were so sharp that Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness trembled violently. It emitted a domineering, terrifying, dark, evil, and ancient energy fluctuation, as if it was going to shatter Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. Avicii Hell's heaven-bearing saber? So this is the forbidden saber? Ling Zhao thought to himself. Rumble. His entire being was encapsulated by a peerless saber intent. A green glow rose around him as the life force gathered around him. Bolts of lightning flickered in a dazzling manner. Ling Zhao began to merge with the forbidden saber spirit to comprehend the forbidden saber. As Ling Zhao and Ba Dao entered the forbidden forest by mistake and Ling Zhao began to merge with the forbidden saber spirit, a figure with a terrifying aura appeared in the burial desert. Rumble. It was an ancient giant beast that was as tall as an ancient sacred mountain. Its entire body was golden with golden flames flowing around it. Its aura was extremely terrifying. It was a burial ant. However, its aura was much stronger than the burial ant king. Its eyes were like blood moons and they were filled with murderous intent. An earth-shattering roar was heard, causing the entire burial desert to tremble violently. All the ancient beasts in the burial desert were trembling in fear as they fled in all directions. The most powerful overlord of the burial desert, the burial ant queen, had arrived. Chapter 3171. Rumble. The entire burial desert began to descend into chaos. The appearance of the burial desert's overlord, the burial ant queen, caused all the burial ants hidden in the desert to move out. The sky-burying ants surged like a surging tide and began to chase after the trial takers who had entered the sky-burying desert. Even the ancient beasts in the sky-burying desert were caught in the crossfire. There were massacres everywhere in the burial desert. What's going on? Why did the burial ants suddenly go crazy? The burial ant queen has always been hiding in the burial desert and almost never comes to the surface. Who angered her? Everyone, leave the burial desert quickly. Otherwise, we'll all die here. In the burial desert, many of the trial takers revealed shocked and doubtful expressions. All of them trembled and felt their scalps tingle as they fled in all directions. The heaven-burying ants were very difficult to deal with. Not only were their shells hard, but they could also spit out heaven-burying poison. In addition, the heaven-burying ants appeared in swarms. They were like locusts passing through, leaving not even a blade of grass alive. Almost no trial takers could launch an effective resistance. Once one fell into the burial ants group, there was no chance of survival. Originally, in the battlefield where the 36 burial ant kings were, many trial challengers fought a bloody battle and escaped with great difficulty. However, they did not expect that even more burial ants would appear in the periphery. Everyone began to despair. Other than Zhu Qin, Ying Yilong, Feng Fan, and the others who saw that the situation was not good and charged out, most of the trial challengers were trapped in the burial ants group. Boom, boom, boom. In the burial desert, there was a loud explosion. It was the trial challengers in the burial ants group. After falling into a desperate situation, they self-destructed in despair, killing many burial ants. However, the burial ants were not afraid of death. As if they had gone crazy, they kept attacking the trial challengers. In addition to the burial ants group on the ground of the burial desert, there were also dozens of burial ant kings that were as bright as the sun in the sky. The eyes of the heaven-burying ant kings were blood red, and their killing intent was boiling. Their bodies were shining with golden light, and they moved quickly in the sky as if they were searching for something. The entire sky burial desert seemed to have become a forbidden area. The sky burial ants formed an inescapable net and constantly hunted down numerous trial takers. In the center of the sky burial desert, there was an extremely clear lake. It was enshrouded in mist and auspicious energy. It looked very peaceful. Bush, bush, bush. Several air-piercing sounds could be heard as Zhu Chen appeared in the middle of the lake. He looked very embarrassed and his eyes were filled with shock and anger. He fought a bloody battle all the way and exhausted all his trump cards. It wasn't easy for him to kill many heaven-burying ants and escape here. At the center of the lake, a white-haired old man appeared in front of Zhu Chen. His entire body was radiating with radiance. It was the guardian of the Candle Dragon Imperial City, the Candle Dragon. "Greetings, Patriarch." Zhu Chen bowed respectfully to the old man. "Get up. The burial desert is in chaos. It's no longer suitable for you to stay here. Leave quickly." The Candle Dragon said slowly. "Patriarch, what's going on? Why did the heaven-burying ant queen appear and the heaven-burying ants start to riot?" Zhu Chen asked in confusion. "Someone touched the thing that the heaven-burying ant queen is guarding. That's why she's angry. I didn't expect that there would be a taboo saber spirit in the burial desert." The Candle Join said slowly with a burning gaze in his eyes. "Taboo saber spirit? Could it be related to the taboo saber?" Zhu Chen's body trembled and he quickly asked. "That's right. The taboo saber spirit is the spiritual body of the taboo saber. After merging with the taboo saber spirit, one can obtain the taboo saber. I've been the guardian for so many years. Isn't it because of the taboo saber?" The Candle Dragon said flatly. "Taboo saber?" Zhu Chen's eyes lit up and he suddenly thought of Ba Dao. "The Ba Dao that you mentioned earlier is destined to be a taboo saber. I can't snatch his taboo saber spirit and I can't snatch it." As if he could read Zhu Chen's mind, the Candle Dragon said slowly, "However, the taboo saber spirit in the burial desert is different. It's an ownerless taboo saber spirit. Even if it has been merged with someone, as long as I kill that person, the taboo saber spirit can still merge with me." "Patriarch, is the taboo saber useful to us?" Zhu Chen asked. "Of course. Although my Torch Dragon tribe managed to escape the great calamity of the epic by coming to the Eternal Emperor Road, we have also lost all hope of attaining our Tao. Only the Forbidden Saber can touch upon the secret of transcendence and allow my tribe to break the curse of being unable to attain our Tao." The Candle Join said slowly with a burning gaze in his eyes. "I see. Patriarch, do you know who obtained the taboo saber spirit?" Zhu Chen's eyes lit up and he quickly asked. "I have some guesses. However, I still need to verify it. I'll know when that person comes out of seclusion. No one in the burial desert can escape from my control." The Candle Dragon said with a faint smile. His eyes were filled with light as if the scene in the burial desert could be seen. It was extremely mysterious and could reflect everything. The riot in the burial desert put Fairy Jinghong, the Tower Master of Azure Heaven, Tong Tong, and the others in danger. They were initially being chased by two sky-burying ant kings, but Fairy Jinghong and the Skyfall Master managed to find the two sky-burying ant kings' openings under Tong Tong's command and killed them right away. However, killing two heaven-burying ant kings had instead brought about even greater trouble. Countless burial ants came out of the desert and surrounded Fairy Jinghong and the others like a tide. The densely packed heaven-burying ants numbered in the thousands. In the end, Fairy Jinghong and the others retreated as they fought. They came to a small oasis and were completely surrounded by the burial ant swarm. However, the burial ant swarm seemed to be intimidated by the oasis. They did not attack immediately. They chose to surround the oasis instead. In the end, 6 heaven-burying ant kings appeared from the heaven-burying ant colony. Each of them was over 100 feet tall, and their bodies were glowing with golden light. They were extremely ferocious, and their eyes were filled with bloodthirsty killing intent. Fairy Jinghong and the others were startled. They felt like a great battle was approaching. It was most likely that the burial ant swarm was about to attack. "What should we do?" "Sister Jinghong, there are 6 burial ant kings and countless burial ants here. Once they attack, we won't be able to escape." A woman from the Winged tribe said with a pale face. "Can't we fight our way out? But we can only fight to the death. I'll think of a way to stop the 6 burial ant kings. Sky Barrier, please protect Tong Tong and the others and bring them out of here." Fairy Jinghong's expression was also incomparably solemn as she revealed a trace of determination. Chapter 3172. Sister Jinghong, you can't stop the 6 sky-burying ant kings alone. Let me help you. Later, We'll create an opportunity for them to leave this place first. The Tower Master of Azure Heaven said slowly with a serious look in her eyes. No. Sister Jinghong will go with you. We'll fight these sky-burying ants. The Feather Race girls said with red eyes. Listen to me. You're the hope of the Feather Race. After leaving the burial desert, find the Empress as soon as possible. Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with reluctance, but she still said sternly. Yes. The Feather Race girls nodded dejectedly. Don't worry, I've already contacted my brother. When Brother Ling Xiao and my brother arrive, we'll be able to kill all these animals. Tong Tong wasn't worried at all. She said with a smile. Tong Tong, you've contacted Ling Xiao? How are they now? Fairy Jinghong's eyes lit up as she asked immediately. Not yet. My brother hasn't replied to me. He and Brother Ling Xiao might have entered some secret realm now. However, when my brother sees my message, he'll definitely rush over. Tong Tong said confidently. You haven't contacted them? Tong Tong, Ling Xiao, and Ba Dao probably can't even take care of themselves now. After all, they're being chased by 16 sky-burying ant kings. Fairy Jinghong's eyes were filled with disappointment as she said bitterly. It was hard to say whether Ling Xiao and Ba Dao could escape from the 16 sky-burying ant kings. How could they have the time to save them? Fairy Jinghong only thought that Tong Tong was being childish, so she didn't say anything to discourage her. Sister Jinghong, you've underestimated Brother Ling Xiao. It's one thing for my brother to be exhausted after killing the 7 heaven burial ant kings, but Brother Ling Xiao is different. If he comes, none of the 6 heaven burial ant kings will be able to escape. Tong Tong said with a smile. Her voice was filled with disdain when she mentioned Ba Dao, but her voice was filled with admiration when she mentioned Ling Xiao. You're confident in him. Fairy Jinghong shook her head with a bitter smile. Rumble. Meanwhile, the 6 sky-burying ant kings in front of Fairy Jinghong and the others let out a furious roar as if they had lost their patience. Although the sky-burying ant was a little wary of the oasis in front of it, the 6 sky-burying ant kings were like 6 mountains. Their bodies emitted dazzling light, and their auras were incomparably terrifying. They emitted fluctuations that made everyone's hearts palpitate. The heaven burial ants in the surroundings seemed to have received some sort of order, and they lined up together. All of their eyes were blood red, and their bodies emitted monstrous baleful auras. Outside the oasis, which had a radius of several dozen miles, black mist rose, and killing intent pervaded the air. The black heaven-burying ants were like a tide, and there was no end in sight. The sky burial poison was above the sky burial ant's head. It was like a cloud that covered the sky, cutting off any chance for Fairy Jinghong and the others to escape. Under the command of the 6 great ant kings, the heaven burial ant colony finally prepared to launch an attack. In the end, 6 earth-shattering roars were heard. In an instant, the void in all directions trembled, and the ground rumbled. The 6 sky-burying ant kings emitted dazzling light from their bodies. They floated in the void and took the lead to attack Fairy Jinghong and the others. Rumble! The sky-burying ant colony roared and charged into the oasis in the blink of an eye. Buzz! The vitality emitted from the oasis seemed to contain some sort of strange energy, causing the sky-burying ant colony to tremble violently. It was as if they had been poisoned, and they fell into the oasis, dead. Countless sky-burying ants died in the oasis, and their corpses covered the ground. However, the sky-burying ants behind them charged forward like waves. They were not afraid of death, and used their bodies to cover the oasis. They kept shrinking the oasis, and charged toward Fairy Jinghong and the others. No wonder the sky-burying ants are so wary of the oasis. The vitality is their nemesis? Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jade Fall looked at each other, and there was a hint of understanding in their eyes. However, the 6 sky-burying ant kings had already led the sky-burying ant colony over. They did not have time to think. They also attacked instantly. Ing Shui, take Tong Tong and leave with them. We'll stop the sky-burying ant kings. Fairy Jinghong yelled at a beautiful feather girl in a green dress. There was a hint of determination in her eyes. Rumble! Her surroundings shone with dazzling light, and her aura was extremely pure and holy. A long sword that was as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in her hand. In an instant, sword chi swept out in all directions like a net of swords, sweeping through the air and descending toward the 6 heaven burial ant kings. The Tower Master of Jade Fall slammed her slender palm forward. A dazzling pillar of light shot out from her palm, containing vast and powerful origin energy. It was like a rainbow bridge that pierced through the void. All the sky-burying ants that blocked the rainbow bridge were pierced through, and they exploded into nothingness. Let's go! The Tower Master of Jade Fall swept up Tong Tong and the other feather girls with her sleeve, and sent them onto the rainbow bridge. Rumble! At this moment, the sky-burying ants' eyes were bloodshot. They began to attack the origin rainbow bridge in a frenzy. The sky-burying ants possessed extreme speed and great strength. They could leap thousands of feet in a single leap, and their sharp forelimbs were like blades as they slashed at the rainbow bridge. The origin rainbow bridge trembled violently, and the Tower Master of Jade Fall seemed to have suffered some kind of backlash. Her face turned extremely pale. Boom! She suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The origin rainbow bridge shone brightly, and green flames rose up and enveloped the rainbow bridge. Any sky-burying ant that dared to jump onto the rainbow bridge or attack it was swept up by the green flames, and they were instantly reduced to ashes. Let's go! Fairy Yingxue looked deeply at the Tower Master of Jade Fall and Fairy Jinghong. Although her eyes were filled with anxiety, she knew that they could not delay any longer. They had to leave. She pulled Tong Tong up, and with the other feather girls, they spread their wings and turned into streaks of light. They flew out of the rainbow bridge at an extremely fast speed. As long as they left the origin rainbow bridge and the sky-burying ants' encirclement, they would be safe. At that time, Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jade Fall would have no worries, and they might have a chance to escape. Rumble! However, at this moment, the void trembled violently, and 4 figures with extremely terrifying auras descended. Another 6 sky-burying ant kings appeared in the void, exuding an unparalleled aura. They were ferocious and stood in front of Fairy Yingxue and the others. Chapter 3173. When Fairy Yingxue and the others saw the cold and bloodthirsty eyes of the 6 buried heaven ant kings, their faces turned ghastly pale. Although they were all mid-level imperial emperors, how could they compare to the 6 sky-burying ant kings? The sky-burying ant kings had a mocking look in their eyes as they attacked. Rumble! The 6 sky-burying ant kings shot out 6 beams of golden light at the same time. The light was dazzling and seemed to be able to destroy everything. However, their target was not Fairy Yingxue, Tong Tong, and the others, but the origin rainbow bridge. Oh no! The Tower Master of Azure Heaven trembled, and her eyes were filled with anxiety. She spat out 2 mouthfuls of pale golden blood, and the origin rainbow bridge shone brightly in an attempt to block the terrifying attack. However, the 6 sky-burying ant kings blocked by Fairy Jinghong seemed to have discussed this beforehand. They released an unparalleled aura at the same time to block Fairy Jinghong's sword chi. Then, 3 of the sky-burying ant kings charged at the Tower Master of Azure Heaven. Clang, clang, clang. The sword chi swept across the surroundings with unparalleled sharpness. It slashed the sky-burying ant king's golden shells, but it only left a few white marks. It could not penetrate the sky-burying ant king's bodies at all. The 3 sky-burying ant kings' attacks were one disaster after another for the Tower Master of Azure Heaven. She had no choice but to move away in an attempt to avoid the attacks of the 3 sky-burying ant kings. At this moment, the 6 blazing golden beams of light instantly blasted onto the origin bridge. Crack! The origin rainbow bridge trembled violently as the runes shattered. A crisp sound rang out as spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the origin rainbow bridge. In the end, the origin rainbow bridge exploded with a loud bang. Endless sky-burying poison surged over, causing Fairy Yingxue, Tong Tong, and the others' expressions to change drastically. Without the protection of the origin rainbow bridge, the heaven burial ant swarm from all directions was like a tsunami, instantly drowning the few of them. No! Fairy Jinghong let out an incomparably shrill roar, and her eyes instantly turned blood red. At this moment, the 6 sky-burying ant kings did not care about Fairy Yingxue, Tong Tong, and the others. After all, they had fallen into the swarm of sky-burying ants and would soon die. Simultaneously, they charged towards Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall. The 12 sky-burying ant kings shone with dazzling golden light at the same time. Their radiance was incomparably dazzling, and their bodies emitted immortal and indestructible fluctuations as if they could destroy everything. Before the 12 sky-burying ant kings, Fairy Jinghong and the Jadefall House Master felt powerless. Looks like I'm going to die here today. Sister Bai Luo, I've implicated you. Fairy Jinghong said with a pale smile. There was a hint of guilt in her eyes. What are you talking about? If we're talking about being implicated, it's that bastard Ling Xiao who implicated us. Ling Xiao, if you have a conscience, come out and kill these bastards. Jadefall Hierarch sneered and shouted towards the sky. Although she knew that Ling Xiao would not appear, she needed to vent her anger. Dying in the hands of the sky-burying ants was not something she could accept. Rumble! The 12 sky-burying ant kings charged at the same time. The boiling golden light contained a terrifying destructive power. Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall felt like they were small boats in the endless waves. They were in danger of being destroyed at any time. Both of them revealed a trace of determination in their eyes, and a terrifying aura fluctuation spread out from their bodies. They were ready to self-destruct. Even if they were to die, they would take these bastards with them. At this moment, the void seemed to shatter. An incomparably dazzling snow-white light appeared in front of everyone, illuminating the world. The world seemed to have been split into two. The snow-white light emitted a shocking saber intent as it fell from the sky. The saber light was so intense that Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall were dazed for a moment. It was as if their minds were frozen. Everyone, including the 12 sky-burying ant kings, could only see that snow-white saber light. Rumble! The saber light slashed down and enveloped the 12 sky-burying ant kings. Then, the Tower Master of Jadefall and Fairy Jinghong saw that the 12 sky-burying ant kings were instantly cut in half by the saber. Their incomparably hard shells were like paper in front of the snow-white saber light. They were completely defenseless. Then, the 12 sky-burying ant kings trembled violently. Endless saber light poured out, and they were instantly annihilated in the void as if they had been cut into pieces. The huge saber light fell and plowed a huge abyss tens of thousands of feet long in the ground. It emitted endless destructive saber intent. All the sky-burying ants within tens of thousands of feet were smashed into pieces. Their souls were scattered and they died. The sky-burying ant kings, just like that. Fairy Jinghong said in a daze. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Yes, they're dead. The Tower Master of Jadefall nodded woodenly as if she was in a dream. The 12 sky-burying ant kings were so powerful that it made one despair. However, they were all killed by a single saber strike. Even the fearless sky-burying ants showed a trace of deep fear in their eyes. They seemed to be completely frightened. They all stood there in a daze and forgot to continue attacking. Tower Master of Jadefall, Fairy Jinghong, I'm not too late, am I? Ling Xiao walked over in the dazzling light that filled the sky. The light around him blazed like a peerless saber that had been unsheathed. He emitted an unparalleled energy wave. His eyes were bright and resplendent. The faint smile on his lips made the world lose its color. Domineering Blade followed closely behind him. His expression was indifferent and his eyes were sharp. He was like the most loyal guard. Ling Xiao, you bastard! Couldn't you have appeared earlier? We almost self-destructed. The Tower Master of Jadefall felt relieved after seeing Ling Xiao and Domineering Blade. However, she still gritted her teeth. He's that strong? Fairy Jinghong stared blankly at Ling Xiao. Her eyes were filled with shock. Thinking back to what she had said about Ling Xiao, those self-righteous and shallow knowledge, Her cheeks instantly turned red. Especially when she met Ling Zhao's bright eyes, Fairy Jinghong couldn't help but tremble. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Brother, that's not how you use the taboo saber. You should quickly consume the origin pill to recover your strength. Domineering Blade said softly. Cut the crap. How would I know that the taboo saber was so freakish? Even my primordial immortal body almost couldn't withstand it. Fortunately, the power of this saber strike was strong enough. Otherwise, it would have been a joke. Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said, he didn't have an ounce of strength in his body. If it weren't for Domineering Blade supporting him, he would have fallen from the sky. The grace of that saber strike was engraved in his heart. However, the taboo saber's freakish power also made Ling Xiao suffer. Chapter 3174. Avicii Hell's Heaven-Burying Saber. This was the forbidden saber that Ling Xiao had comprehended after merging with the forbidden saber spirit. It was said to be able to bury all Daos in the universe, destroy the origin, and destroy everything. After merging with the taboo blade spirit, Ling Xiao's cultivation base didn't increase at all. However, the terrifying power of this blade was undoubtedly displayed by this strike. The forbidden saber was a saber technique that hurt both the user and the opponent. It was invincible and had to exhaust all of the origin energy in one's body to form the forbidden saber and destroy everything in its path. That was why Ba Dao was so exhausted after killing the 7 heaven-burying ant kings. In the end, Zhu Chen had brought him back to Zhulong Imperial City. Although Ling Xiao was prepared, the saber was still more terrifying than he had expected. The origin energy in Ling Xiao's body was almost completely depleted. Even the dozens of origin Dao fruits had dimmed slightly. Rumble. An origin elixir river exploded in Ling Xiao's body. The surging origin elixir quickly turned into pure origin energy and flowed through his body to replenish his depleted origin energy. However, Fairy Jinghong, Tower Master Bai Luo, and the others did not know about this. They were all shocked by Ling Xiao's saber. He had killed 12 heaven-burying ant kings with a single saber. Could it be that Ling Xiao's combat strength was comparable to a peerless imperial emperor's? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ba Dao slashed in the air and the saber radiance was dazzling. In an instant he killed dozens of heaven-burying ants. He killed all the heaven-burying ants around Fairy Yingxue and Tong Tong and rescued them. Let's get out of here first. The heaven-burying ants are increasing in number. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said slowly. After experiencing a moment of chaos, the heaven-burying ants became increasingly violent. Their eyes were blood-red as they looked at Ling Xiao's group with eyes that were filled with bone-deep hatred. Moreover, there were still heaven-burying ants gathering around them and launching attacks at them. All right, let's go. Fairy Jinghong and Tower Master Bai Luo looked at each other and nodded. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone soared into the sky, killing the heaven-burying ants that surrounded them as they charged outside. Without the heaven-burying ant king's obstruction, the heaven-burying ants were no match for Ling Xiao and the others even though they were fearless. The heaven-burying ants in front of them were slaughtered one after another. Very soon, Ling Xiao and the others escaped the encirclement of the heaven-burying ants. The burial desert had already become incomparably chaotic. Ling Xiao, Ba Dao, and the others withdrew their auras and looked for a way out. They were prepared to leave the burial desert. They could feel the sky-burying ant queen's fury. Facing such a terrifying prehistoric beast, neither Ling Xiao nor Ba Dao had much confidence in defeating it. The harvest in burial desert this time was already very great. Have they already come out? Very good. Wanting to leave burial desert was probably not such an easy matter, right? Let me see if I'll be able to kill the heaven-burying ant queen after obtaining the blade of taboo. Otherwise, I'll be really disappointed. Above the peaceful lake, the candle dragon's eyes flickered as he muttered to himself softly. Buzz. His figure flashed, and the void distorted. He disappeared into the void in an instant, as if he had never existed. Rumble. The heaven-burying ant queen's body was dazzling with golden light. She was like a primordial divine mountain, exuding an insufferably ferocious aura. She opened her mouth and swallowed a black serpent dragon that was over 30,000 meters long. With a shake of her body, a terrifying aura scattered all the life in the oasis, turning it into a desert in the blink of an eye. Those who touched the blade's spirit, the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. She was surrounded by an extremely powerful spiritual fluctuation that was extremely obscure. Her gaze seemed to pierce through the void and looked in the direction of Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Swoosh! In the next moment, she was like a dazzling golden light that instantly entered Burial Desert. The earth rumbled violently as she sped toward Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. Rumble! At that moment, all the heaven-burying ants in Burial Desert gave up on killing the trial challengers and the numerous untainted beings. They gathered from all directions like a tide and chased after Ling Xiao and Ba Dao. The heaven-burying ants left? What happened? Why aren't the heaven-burying ants attacking us? Something big must have happened. Let's leave this place quickly. Burial Desert is too terrifying. Many of the trial challengers who were surrounded by the heaven-burying ants were overjoyed to have survived the disaster. At the same time, they were extremely confused. They had already lost all hope and were about to die in the heaven-burying ant swarm. However, they did not expect the heaven-burying ants to retreat at that moment. They turned around at the same time and headed in a certain direction. Everyone's hearts were filled with confusion. Although they did not know what was going on, they all felt that something earth-shattering must have happened in Burial Desert. Many of the people who had obtained the heaven-burying fruits were looking for a way out of Burial Desert. The untainted beasts were all scared to death. They hid in their own territories and trembled, afraid that the heaven-burying ants would go crazy again and come after them. At that moment, Ling Xiao, who was looking for a way out of Burial Desert with Ba Dao and the others, could not help but feel his heart palpitate. What's going on? Could it be that there's some danger? Ling Xiao thought to himself. In Burial Desert, I'm afraid only the heaven-burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon can make me feel this way. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a bright light. The heaven-burying Ant King was no longer a threat to him. Even if the heaven-burying ants attacked him together, he could still escape unscathed. However, the legendary heaven-burying Ant Queen, especially when he saw bits and pieces of the heaven-burying Ant King's primordial spirit, made Ling Xiao extremely fearful. There was also the guardian of Candle Dragon Imperial City, the Candle Dragon Imperial City. With the cultivation of an unparalleled emperor and the support of heaven's providence, he could be said to be the strongest person in Candle Dragon Imperial City. Or is the danger coming from them at the same time? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Ling Xiao felt that the heaven-burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon might know about the Avicii Hell Saber and the Taboo Saber Spirit in the Forbidden Forest. Could it be that they were waiting for the Taboo Saber to appear? I haven't completely merged with the Taboo Saber Spirit now. I can only become the real Taboo Saber after I leave Burial Desert and break through my cultivation. If they kill me now, they can obtain the Taboo Saber Spirit. Are the Candle Dragon and the heaven-burying Ant Queen waiting for this moment? Ling Xiao thought to himself. A wisp of wisdom appeared in his eyes. His guess had already touched upon the truth. Chapter 3175. Fairy Jinghong, I'm afraid we'll have to split up again. Ling Xiao's gaze landed on Fairy Jinghong as he spoke slowly. Why is that? Fairy Jinghong frowned. The surroundings were filled with yellow sand. The world was vast and desolate. However, for some unknown reason, an indescribable sense of danger surged into everyone's hearts. I've obtained the Forbidden Saber Spirit and refined the Forbidden Saber. I'm afraid neither the Candle Dragon nor the Sky-burying Ant Queen will let me go. You'll be in danger if you stay with me, so we'll have to split up. Leave the Burial Desert first, I'll lure them away. Ling Xiao said calmly. Brother Ling Xiao, I can feel it too. The Sky-burying Ant Queen's rage is closely related to you. However, the Sky-burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon are extremely powerful. I'm afraid you'll be in danger if you go alone. Tongtong's eyes flickered with a mysterious glow as if they could see the future. She glanced at Ling Xiao worriedly. Brother, even if we have to split up, let them leave first. I'll deal with the sky-burying ant queen with you. Ba Dao said seriously. No way. The burial desert is getting more chaotic. If you follow me, Tong Tong and Fairy Jinghong's safety won't be guaranteed. Therefore, you must protect them and leave the burial desert. Ling Xiao patted Ba Dao's shoulder. Ba Dao was strong, but he was still no match for the candle dragon and the sky-burying ant queen. It was more convenient for Ling Xiao to move alone. In the end, Ba Dao had no choice but to nod helplessly after seeing Ling Xiao's persistence. Ling Xiao, I didn't think we'd become your burden. I apologize to you for my previous arrogance and conceit. Didn't you want to know who asked me to take care of you? Come out alive and I'll tell you. Fairy Jinghong glanced at Ling Xiao thoughtfully. Ling Xiao, didn't you want a perfect origin orb? Come out alive, and I'll surely get you a few hundred origin orbs. The Mistress of Heaven said seriously. Don't worry, I'm the chosen one. Why would I die here? Maybe my cultivation will improve greatly after killing the candle dragon and the sky-burying ant queen. Leave now. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Rumble. At this moment, the burial desert began to tremble violently. Yellow sand billowed and the world shook. One by one, burial ants emerged from the desert. Those densely packed heaven-burying ants made one's scalp tingle just by looking at them. At the same time, in the depths of the burial desert, there was an aura that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. It was like an ancient beast, causing the sense of danger in everyone's heart to reach its peak in an instant. The heaven-burying ant is here. Hurry up and leave. Ling Xiao's expression changed as he hurriedly shouted at Ba Dao and the others. Big brother, you must come back alive. Ba Dao gritted his teeth, and his eyes turned red as he roared. Everyone was incomparably worried. However, at this moment, they did not waste any time. Under Ba Dao's lead, they swiftly leaped into the air, killed their way out of the heaven burial ants, and flew into the distance. Ling Xiao glanced at the backs of Ba Dao and the others. He also leaped up and flew in the opposite direction. Behind Ling Xiao, an earth-shattering roar rang out. The ground instantly cracked open. Blazing golden light spewed out like a golden pillar of light that shot into the sky. Endless yellow sand rose like smoke signals. From the depths of the ground, a giant ancient beast rushed out. It was as if an ancient divine mountain had appeared, exuding an insufferably overbearing murderous aura. The burial ant queen had appeared. An ordinary burial ant king was only 1,000 feet tall, but the burial ant queen was tens of thousands of feet tall. Her entire body was dazzling with golden light as if she was cast in gold. Her 6 limbs were like heavenly pillars that were cold, shiny, and incomparably sharp. The huge golden head was like a golden sun that was suspended in midair. In particular, the pair of blood-red compound eyes were cold and cruel. When they landed on a person's body, it made them feel as if they were frozen, unable to move at all. This was definitely a peerless emperor. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Just a glance behind him and the terrifying aura of the burial ant queen caused his sense of danger to soar. Without any hesitation, he unleashed his extreme speed. Like a bolt of golden lightning, he moved through the void and flew into the distance. Rumble. The burial ant queen's eyes revealed a trace of human-like mockery. In an instant, she chased after Ling Xiao. The ground rumbled and the void shook violently. The burial ant queen was surrounded by the burial ant queen, surging like a tide. Their speed was extremely fast. Although the burial ant queen was huge, her speed was also extremely fast. She was not inferior to Ling Xiao at all. One chased while the other fled. In the blink of an eye, they had moved hundreds of thousands of miles. Boom! At this moment, Ling Xiao suddenly felt a terrifying aura rising in front of him. Dozens of burial ant kings appeared in front of Ling Xiao, blocking his escape route. The burial ant queen is smart. She actually knows to let the burial ant kings block in front of her? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Hand over the forbidden saber spirit. The burial ant queen behind Ling Xiao looked extremely cold and contained a cold, murderous intent. A few obscure syllables came out of her mouth, causing the surrounding void to tremble. Rumble. The dozens of burial ant kings were dazzling with golden light and filled with cold, murderous intent. They locked onto Ling Xiao. Meanwhile, the burial ant queen was like a black sea that surged violently and covered the entire desert. They were all waiting for the burial ant queen's order. As soon as the burial ant queen gave the order, they would charge forward and tear Ling Xiao into pieces. Burial ant queen, do you know the candle dragon? He should be hiding nearby at this moment. Why don't we join forces and kill the candle dragon first? Then I will give you the forbidden saber spirit. How about that? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he smiled at the burying heaven ant queen. In fact, that was exactly what Ling Xiao was thinking. The burial ant queen chased after him, but the guardian, the candle dragon, still did not appear. Ling Xiao did not believe that the candle dragon could not discover him. Otherwise, Zhu Chen would not have told everyone his location so clearly earlier. Since the candle dragon did not appear, the only possibility was that the candle dragon was hiding somewhere. Perhaps he was nearby and was planning to take advantage of the situation. This kid is smart. The candle dragon's hair and beard were all white in the chaotic fog above the 9 heavens. His eyes were extremely wise as he chuckled softly. He was paying attention to every movement below. Ling Xiao and the burial ant queen's movements and all the sounds were clearly heard by him. Chapter 3176. Patriarch, Ling Xiao is only a 4th heaven imperial lord. Although he's powerful, I'm afraid he's no match for the sky-burying ant queen. If he really dies in the sky-burying ant queen's hands and the forbidden saber spirit is refined by the sky-burying ant queen, it won't be easy for us to snatch food from the tiger's mouth, right? Zhu Chen said slowly. His gaze landed on Ling Xiao, revealing a trace of deep hatred. However, he was worried that Ling Xiao was no match for the sky-burying ant queen. If they wanted to benefit from the fight, they had to be evenly matched. Only then would both sides suffer. You're underestimating the forbidden saber. Zhu Jiuyin smiled faintly as a divine light flickered in his eyes. The forbidden saber is a forbidden power that surpasses the Emperor Dao. It can unleash unbelievable power. Only the forbidden saber can hurt the sky-burying ant queen. I don't need him to kill the sky-burying ant queen. As long as he can hurt the sky-burying ant queen, how can the sky-burying ant queen be my match? Although Zhu Jiuyin's voice was calm, there was a sense of pride in it. It was filled with confidence. You're right, Patriarch. Both Ling Xiao and the sky-burying ant queen have to die today. Zhu Chen said respectfully as a sharp light flickered in his eyes. Previously, the Patriarch had asked him to leave the sky-burying desert, but he had not. He had chosen to follow the Patriarch because he wanted to see Ling Xiao die in front of him. He knew how powerful the Patriarch was, so he was even more confident in today's battle. Hand over the forbidden saber spirit, or die. The sky-bearing ant queen stared at Ling Xiao as her voice was extremely cold. With her intelligence, it was impossible for her not to understand Ling Xiao's words. However, she did not bother to reply. To her, Ling Xiao was just a small bug that she could easily crush. What right did he have to negotiate with the great sky-burying ant queen? Regardless of whether Zhu Jiuyin was hiding nearby, she chose to snatch the forbidden saber spirit first. Looks like I've been underestimated. Ling Xiao sighed softly and smiled faintly. Obviously, he understood what the sky-burying ant queen meant. Since that's the case, let's see what right do you have to ask me for the forbidden saber spirit. Ling Xiao's eyes glowed brightly, and in an instant, chaotic light gushed out. Rumble. He leaped into the air and threw a punch at the buried heaven ant queen. When Ling Xiao soared into the sky, his entire body emitted a dazzling divine light. Chaotic mist filled the air, and his entire body directly expanded in the void. In an instant, he turned into a giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. His huge fist emitted a dazzling light. Like an ancient divine mountain, it pressed down on the heaven-burying ant queen. Die! The heaven-bearing Ant Queen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. A golden limb rose into the air, turning into an unparalleled fist that charged towards Ling Xiao. Rumble! Ling Xiao and the sky-bearing Ant Queen collided in the void. The terrifying fist imprint erupted and swept out in all directions like a storm. The heaven-burial ants in the surroundings were swept by the aftershocks and instantly exploded. With Ling Xiao and the heaven-bearing Ant Queen as the core, the heaven-bearing ants within a radius of 1,000,000 feet all exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Ling Xiao and the heaven-bearing ant both trembled and retreated at the same time. What a powerful force! Ling Xiao praised in his heart. This punch was actually on par with the heaven-bearing Ant Queen. He could feel the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's terrifying power. It was endless, as if it could encompass the entire world. As expected of a great desolate beast, it possessed the great desolate bloodline. Every move it made was capable of unleashing destructive power. Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong and could be said to be unparalleled in the world. Ever since he became an imperial emperor, no one could compete with him in terms of physical body. Even the octopus queen and the sky-bearing ant king were much inferior to him. However, the heaven-bearing ant queen in front of him was indeed powerful. Ling Xiao's chaotic fist imprint was powerful and all-encompassing. It contained the power of creation and destruction of an era. Every punch contained the power of a supreme emperor technique. Therefore, Ling Xiao rarely used any emperor techniques. Instead, he used his strength to break through all techniques and his fist imprint to suppress everything. Ling Xiao was building up his strength, building up his invincible strength. However, when his fist imprint landed on the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's body, it caused his arm to go numb. The heaven-bearing Ant Queen's golden limbs clanged loudly. They were sturdy and indestructible. The heaven-bearing Ant Queen's eyes were filled with surprise. The little bug in front of her had such a powerful physical body. She was extremely surprised. However, the more this was the case, the more ferocious and murderous her heart was. Boom! The heaven-bearing Ant Queen threw a punch at Ling Xiao. The void trembled as if the heavens were beating. The terrifying sound waves could shatter the indestructible primordial spirits of ordinary imperial emperors. The heaven-bearing Ant Queen's fist imprint was as powerful as thunder. It was extremely fast and contained a power that could penetrate everything. It was as if all the energy in her body had condensed into one. It was an extremely mysterious fist technique. The heaven-bearing Ant Queen was an ancient beast. In addition to being able to suppress others with strength, she also had her own special abilities. For example, the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's heaven-bearing poison was her special ability. In addition to the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's powerful poison, she also had the heaven-bearing fist technique. Together with the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's strong physical body, she was invincible. Rumble! While the heaven-bearing Ant Queen and Ling Xiao were fighting, the ordinary heaven-bearing ants had received the Ant Queen's order. They were afraid of being affected and retreated thousands of miles away. The dozens of heaven-bearing ant kings charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. To them, there was no such thing as a one-on-one fight. When the heaven-bearing Ant Queen killed someone, it was always a group of ants that swarmed forward. The dozens of heaven-bearing ant kings were surrounded by blazing golden light. They charged at Ling Xiao in the air. Powerful divine chains of order condensed around them and then pierced towards Ling Xiao. Could it be that the heaven-bearing Ant Queen cultivates the great Tao of strength? Ling Xiao thought to himself. He had fought with the heaven-bearing Ant King several times, but he had never seen the heaven-bearing Ant King reveal a complete Tao fruit. Even the origin pearl of the heaven-bearing Ant King that he killed was not complete. However, Ling Xiao could sense that the heaven-bearing Ant Queen's heaven-bearing poison was not its true power. Its true power seemed to be related to the legendary great Tao of strength. Rumble! Ling Xiao punched out like a dragon. Every punch seemed to be able to shatter everything. The battle was extremely intense as he fought with the heaven-bearing Ant King and dozens of heaven-bearing ants. Although he was fighting against many, Ling Xiao did not seem to be at a disadvantage. Every punch that he threw out would send a heaven-burying ant king flying. The one that posed the greatest threat to him was the heaven-burying ant queen. Not only did the heaven-burying ant queen possess extremely terrifying chaos power, but her 6 limbs were also extremely sharp and could pierce through everything. They were comparable to extreme Dao Emperor weapons and could cause Ling Xiao significant damage. Moreover, the heaven-burying ant queen attacked extremely quickly. In addition to the interference of the dozens of heaven-burying ant kings, Ling Xiao was soon injured. Chapter 3177. Ling Xiao's body was covered in blood and flesh. Although his powerful life origin was constantly repairing his body, it was obvious that he was gradually at a disadvantage. Kill! Ling Xiao roared angrily. His eyes shone with incomparable sharpness, and his body began to emit an incomparably tyrannical aura. Terrifying saber intent rose and blazing saber light flashed around him. A huge black saber aura appeared in his palm. It looked as black as ink and seemed to be able to destroy everything. Has he finally used the forbidden saber? Ling Xiao's combat strength is indeed impressive. The candle Jiuyin exclaimed in the sky. The powerful physical body that Ling Xiao displayed made him exclaim in his heart. Ling Xiao's talent was terrifying to be able to fight dozens of sky burial ant kings and sky burial ant queens by himself. It was already the first time the Candle Dragon had seen such a terrifying talent. However, Ling Xiao's cultivation was his weakness after all. He was only a 4th Heaven Imperial Lord. In such a high-intensity battle, Ling Xiao was injured and gradually fell into a disadvantage. Therefore, he was forced to use the Forbidden Saber. Ancestor, can Ling Xiao's Forbidden Saber really hurt the Sky Burial Ant Queen? The Sky Burial Ant Queen's strength is too terrifying. Zhu Chen said slowly. His eyes were filled with a solemn expression. Although he was an advanced Imperial Lord, Zhu Chen felt that he was definitely not Ling Xiao's match based on the powerful combat strength that Ling Xiao had just displayed. The Forbidden Saber can't be judged by common sense. Let's wait and see. It won't be long before it's our turn to attack. The Candle Jiuyin said with a faint smile. There was a look of anticipation in his eyes. Rumble. Saber intent surged around Ling Xiao's body. There was also a violent murderous intent in his eyes. The vast aura around him was like the might of the heavens. It was extremely terrifying. He was extremely fast. When he slashed down with his saber, the saber light was unparalleled. It instantly slashed through the heads of the 2 sky burial ant kings. The 2 sky-burying ant kings were like paper in front of the forbidden blade. They didn't even have the slightest ability to resist before their heads were chopped off instantly. Their primordial spirits did not even have time to escape before they were annihilated by the forbidden saber. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sky-burial ant kings were killed. The heaven-burying ant queen roared furiously. She was completely enraged after 2 of her heaven-burying ant kings had been slain. She soared through the air, golden light surging around her. In an instant, she turned into many golden mountains, stacking on top of each other and pressing down on Ling Xiao. She knew better than anyone how terrifying the taboo saber was. Therefore, the layers of golden mountains contained an incomparably strong defensive power in an attempt to block Ling Xiao's taboo saber. At the same time, under the command of the heaven-burying ant queen, the heaven-burying ant kings charged towards Ling Xiao fearlessly even though their eyes were filled with fear. Rumble. The saber light swept out for tens of thousands of meters, blazing and dazzling. The snow-white astral saber was like the Milky Way descending from the 9 heavens, and it contained a lethal glow as it swept past the heaven-burying ant kings. After using the taboo blade, Ling Xiao possessed extremely terrifying killing power. He was like a chaos demon god. In a single moment, Ling Xiao had slain 7 or 8 of the ant kings. Their souls dispersed, and their huge bodies fell from the sky, causing the ground to rumble. The golden mountains in front of Ling Xiao exploded as well. It was as if there was nothing that could block the taboo saber. However, after killing almost 10 of the heaven-burying ant kings, Ling Xiao's taboo saber still showed signs of weakness. In the end, it collided with the heaven-burying ant queen and left a deep wound on her body. Faint golden blood spurted out. The heaven-burying ant queen was in pain, and she let out an earth-shattering roar. What a terrifying taboo saber. It killed 10 heaven-burying ant kings in a row and still managed to injure the heaven-burying ant queen? Zhu Chen gasped. His face was slightly pale, and he found the scene before him unbelievable. The heaven-burying ant queen is really vicious. She actually used the heaven-burying ant kings to block the attack for her? However, her injuries are a little light. Zhu Jiuyin frowned slightly. The heaven-burying ant queen's injuries were much lighter than he had expected. Ling Zhao's taboo saber left a huge wound on the heaven-burying ant queen's body. It was dripping with blood and looked extremely miserable. However, Zhu Jiuyin could tell that the heaven-burying ant queen's injuries were superficial and did not hurt her vital organs. If Ling Zhao's taboo saber could have cut off a few of the heaven-burying ant queen's limbs, the effect would have been much better. Rumble. The heaven-burying ant queen roared crazily. Her compound eyes were filled with murderous intent and deep hatred. Not only did the wound that Ling Zhao left on her body not frighten her, but it also made her completely crazy. Under the heaven-burying ant queen's command, all the heaven-burying ant kings and even the heaven-burying ant colony in the distance pounced on Ling Zhao crazily. She widened the distance between her and Ling Zhao to guard against Ling Zhao's taboo saber. At the same time, she spat out a golden beam of light from her mouth. It was like a destructive force that constantly interfered with Ling Zhao. The heaven-burying ant queen had learned to be smart. She wanted to use the ant colony tactic to exhaust Ling Zhao completely. After all, using the taboo saber required her to gather all of her origin energy. Although it would be extremely destructive in exchange, it would also be a huge burden on her body. When Ling Zhao's aura weakened, she would then attack and kill him in one strike. Heaven-burying ant queen, do you want the taboo saber spirit? Let's see if you're qualified. Ling Zhao roared angrily. The blazing saber radiance around him surged out and gathered in his palm in an instant. It turned into a huge saber aura that was tens of thousands of feet long. It slashed down from the sky. Clang. The saber radiance blazed fiercely and made a clanging sound. The snow-white saber aura seemed to have split heaven and earth in an instant. It directly slashed the 2 heaven-burying ant kings in front of Ling Zhao into 2 halves and destroyed thousands of ordinary heaven-burying ants. It plowed a 10,000-mile-long path. Ling Zhao instantly came across the sky. The blazing saber essence around him rose. The black saber radiance in his palm swallowed a destructive aura as it slashed down towards the heaven-burying ant queen. Ling Zhao used a secret teleportation technique. His speed was extremely fast. He appeared in front of the heaven-burying ant queen almost instantly. The heaven-burying ant kings couldn't save her in time. Boom! The extremely terrifying taboo saber seemed to have condensed the void and time. It went from the ancient times to the endless future. It pierced through the river of time and destroyed the heavens of the epic. It was a peerless saber slash. The saber illuminated the heaven-burying ant queen's compound eyes and reflected a trace of fear in them. No one could not be fearful. The saber technique that was said to be transcendent, the taboo saber that was said to be able to destroy all life, had bloomed in front of everyone. Chapter 3178. The sky-burying ant queen let out a shrill roar. A golden beam of light shot out from her mouth, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. That beam of light met the forbidden blade in the sky, and dozens of sky-burying ant kings instantly appeared from it. The sky-burying ant kings stood in front of the forbidden saber without fear of death. The scene before them was beyond everyone's expectations. No one had expected the sky-burying ant queen to be so cunning and afraid of death. There were dozens of sky-burying ant kings hidden in her body. Moreover, the dozens of sky-burying ant kings shone brightly, and they chose to self-destruct without hesitation. Boom, 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 boom. An earth-shattering sound rang out, tearing the void and the ground apart. The The sky-burying desert shook violently as if it was going to be destroyed at any time. Terrifying light swept out in all directions, drowning Ling Xiao and the sky-burying Ant Queen in an instant. The sky-burying Ant Queen is so cunning. Ling Xiao isn't dead, is he? Zhu Chen was also shocked, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. If this move was directed at me, I might not be able to dodge it. However, the forbidden saber... Zhu Jiuyin's eyes showed a hint of hesitation. The forbidden saber spirit was only a legend. Although he had seen records of it in some ancient books, he had never cultivated the forbidden saber. Would Ling Xiao really be able to survive such a terrifying explosion? A blazing saber aura told them the answer. Although the black saber aura looked weak, it came from the terrifying divine light and slashed the sky-burying Ant Queen's head. Ling Xiao was covered in blood and flesh. His face was extremely pale, and his aura was extremely weak. However, his eyes were extremely bright and resplendent, containing a hint of determination. The forbidden saber tore the sky-burying Ant Queen's head apart and destroyed one of her eyes. However, it was a pity that the saber had become extremely weak, and that was the extent of its damage. The burying heaven Ant Queen was enraged. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed Ling Xiao, who was in the air, into its stomach. Ling Xiao didn't seem to have the slightest ability to resist as he was swallowed by the heaven burial Ant Queen. Not good. The candle dragon's expression changed. He hadn't expected the sky-burying Ant Queen to move so quickly, and Ling Xiao was so weak. He was like an arrow at the end of its flight and had no way to resist the sky-burying Ant Queen. The forbidden saber spirit can only belong to me. The heaven-burying Ant Queen? You should just die. A strong killing intent burst out from the candle dragon's eyes at that moment. Rumble. Without any hesitation, he dove down from the heavens in an instant. An ancient black and white saber appeared in his hand. One side contained endless light, while the other side contained endless darkness. The saber light was dazzling as it slashed down at the heaven-burying Ant Queen's head. Candle Dragon, you're courting death. The heaven-burying Ant Queen was furious. She swung out one of her limbs. It was dazzling like a dazzling saber and collided with the Candle Dragon's saber. Rumble. Blazing light burst out. The Candle Dragon did not move, but the heaven-burying Ant Queen was sent flying by the Candle Dragon's saber. What a pity! The Candle Dragon thought to himself. He then looked at the heaven-burying Ant Queen and said calmly, "Long time no see, heaven-burying Ant Queen. Hand over the forbidden saber spirit and I'll spare your life." You want the forbidden saber spirit? The heaven-burying Ant Queen's eyes were filled with killing intent. She roared angrily and charged towards the Candle Dragon. She was completely enraged by Ling Xiao earlier. Her killing intent was boiling, and her blood was boiling. Now that she saw the Candle Dragon appearing again and trying to get the forbidden saber spirit, she went berserk. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had warned her that the Candle Dragon was hiding nearby. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for her to dodge the Candle Dragon's saber. You're courting death. I'll fulfill your wish. The Candle Jiuyin sneered. Murderous intent rose in his eyes and he instantly attacked. Rumble. A bloody battle broke out between the Candle Dragon and the heaven-burying Ant Queen. It was as if they had known each other before. They were very familiar with each other and had fought countless times. The moment they attacked, they went straight for each other's vital points. The battle was extremely tragic. If the heaven-burying Ant Queen was at her peak, she might be on par with the Candle Dragon. However, she was seriously injured now. However, the heaven-burying Ant Queen was completely enraged. Together with the many heaven-burying Ant Kings and the heaven-burying Ant Colony, she was on par with the Candle Dragon. The terrifying shockwaves from the battle between the two peerless emperors spread across hundreds of thousands of miles. The powerful living beings in the burial desert all trembled and quickly left the place. Meanwhile, inside the heaven-burying Ant Queen's body, Ling Xiao had already entered the heaven-burying Ant Queen's huge stomach. The surroundings were filled with a black liquid that contained the purest heaven-burying poison. It kept corroding Ling Xiao's body. Ling Zhao's flesh and blood had completely disappeared. Only a purplish gold skeleton was left, still soaked in the heaven-burying poison. Just as the heaven-burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon were fighting fiercely, Ling Zhao opened his eyes. That Candle Dragon is really a sly old fox. How can he be so patient? To be able to deceive him is really not an easy thing to do. Ling Zhao thought to himself. That's right. Ling Zhao had planned everything. When he guessed that the Candle Dragon was hiding at the side and waiting to take advantage of the situation, Ling Zhao had already planned everything. He would first fight with the heaven-burying Ant Queen and pretend to be defeated in the end. He would then be swallowed by the heaven-burying Ant Queen and lure the Candle Dragon out. Then he would become the fisherman. This plan sounded easy, but it was also very difficult to execute. The most difficult part was how to make the battle extremely realistic and make the Candle Dragon believe that Ling Zhao was exhausted while preserving his strength at the same time. Therefore, Ling Zhao displayed his powerful physical body and unparalleled fist technique from the very beginning. In the end, he was forced by the heaven-burying Ant King and the heaven-burying Ant Queen to use the forbidden saber and severely injure the heaven-burying Ant Queen. Then he was exhausted and swallowed by the crazy heaven-burying Ant Queen. At this moment, Ling Zhao was indeed severely injured. Be it the heaven-burying Ant King's self-destruction or the backlash from the forbidden saber, they were all serious injuries to him. However, Ling Zhao's recovery ability was beyond the Candle Dragon and the heaven-burying Ant Queen's imagination. A few origin pill rivers exploded in Ling Zhao's body and rapidly repaired his origin energy. At the same time, the powerful life origin energy in his body surged out continuously to heal Ling Zhao. Chapter 3179. Moreover, in order to deceive the sky-burying Ant Queen, Ling Zhao performed the heaven-shrouding secret skill at the same time. He did not reveal any aura so that the sky-burying Ant Queen would think that Ling Zhao was being refined by her. All in all, Ling Zhao managed to deceive the Candle Dragon and the sky-burying Ant Queen. While the Candle Dragon and the sky-burying Ant Queen were fighting, he began to recover his strength rapidly. No matter who won, he would have to deal with the Candle Dragon and the sky-burying Ant Queen. Rumble. The battle between the Candle Dragon and the sky-burying Ant Queen was extremely intense. The swarm of sky-burying ants and the sky-burying Ant King could not harm the Candle Dragon at all. Instead, he killed many of them. The sky-burying Ant Queen gradually lost the upper hand and her injuries worsened. She was about to die in the Candle Dragon's hands. The sky-burying Ant Queen went completely mad. She ordered the sky-burying Ant Kings and sky-burying ants to charge at the Candle Dragon fearlessly. Then they self-destructed. Rumble. With so many sky-burying Ant Kings self-destructing, the Candle Dragon was still injured even though he had reached the unparalleled Emperor realm. However, the sky-burying Ant Queen still died in his hands in the end. However, the sky-burying Ant Queen's final attack was extremely tragic. It pierced through the Candle Dragon's chest. The worst thing was that the sky-burying poison was left in the Candle Dragon's body. Damn it! The Candle Dragon's expression was terrible. He had used his powerful cultivation to suppress the sky-burying poison forcefully and consumed a special detoxification sacred pill. However, the sky-burying poison was the purest energy in the sky-burying Ant Queen's body. It contained an extremely powerful spirituality and was hidden in the Candle Dragon's body. He could not get rid of it immediately and could only suppress it. Blood flowed out from the corner of the Candle Dragon's mouth. He was also severely injured. However, the result of the battle was extremely satisfying. The sky-burying Ant King's corpse was priceless. More than half of the ordinary sky-burying ants were killed. The rest fled in all directions after the sky-burying Ant Queen died. Most importantly, Ling Zhao was still in the sky-burying Ant Queen's body. Even if he was not dead, he was probably on his last breath. The Forbidden Sword Spirit. When he thought about the taboo saber spirit, even with the Candle Dragon's mental state, he could feel his heart burning with excitement. Ancestor, is Ling Zhao dead? Zhu Chen descended from the void and held onto the candle dragon. He looked at the huge corpse of the heaven-burying Ant Queen with lingering fear and asked, "He shouldn't be dead yet, right?" However, the backlash from the taboo blade was incomparably strong. Even if he didn't die, he didn't have any strength to resist. Zhu Chen, take Ancestor's saber and dig Ling Xiao out, the candle dragon said calmly. Zhu Chen took the candle dragon's saber respectfully. The candle dragon saber was the supreme emperor weapon of the candle dragon tribe. It was rumored that it was left behind by their ancestor and was extremely powerful. Now, it was in the hands of the candle dragon. The candle dragon saber was extremely sharp. It was the candle dragon saber that had destroyed the primordial spirit of the heaven-burying Ant Queen and killed it completely. Zhu Chen approached the heaven-burying Ant Queen with the candle dragon saber in hand. Although the sky-burying Ant Queen had been killed, the ferocious aura emitted by its corpse still made Zhu Chen's heart palpitate. It was hard for him to imagine how Ling Xiao had been able to fight the heaven-burying Ant Queen head-on and injure her in the end. Am I really inferior to Ling Xiao? Wait until I kill you and take away your heaven path providence. I'll be stronger than you, Zhu Chen thought to himself. With the candle dragon saber in hand, the saber radiance was dazzling as he slashed open the abdomen of the heaven-burying Ant Queen. Boom! At this moment, an unparalleled fist print bloomed in front of Zhu Chen. The speed of the punch was extremely fast and it blasted out of the heaven-burying Ant Queen's stomach. It was so close to Zhu Chen that he had no chance to resist at all. A figure was reflected in Zhu Chen's eyes. Ling Xiao. Boom! The punch contained the power of an epic's life and death. It landed on Zhu Chen's head in an instant and blasted it apart. Zhu Chen's indestructible primordial spirit did not even have the chance to escape. It was also annihilated by the punch, and its soul completely dispersed. Zhu Chen's headless corpse fell to the ground. Until his death, he still could not believe that he had died in the hands of Ling Xiao. Rumble! Ling Xiao stepped out of the heaven-burying Ant Queen's body. The divine light around him was blazing and his eyes were bright and resplendent. There was a trace of cold, murderous intent in them as he locked his gaze on the candle dragon. Ling Xiao, you deserve to die. The candle dragon's face instantly turned extremely gloomy as rage and murderous intent surged in his eyes. He did not expect Ling Xiao to not only be alive, but he also seemed to have preserved his combat power at his peak. Zhu Chen was not weak. His cultivation had reached the high-level Imperial Emperor level and he had many trump cards. However, he was still killed by Ling Xiao with a single punch. It was no surprise at all. Candle Dragon, you must be seriously injured after killing the heaven-burying Ant Queen, right? You're not a good fisherman. Why don't you fulfill my wish? Ling Xiao smiled faintly as his gaze turned extremely cold. He could see that the candle dragon's aura was a little chaotic at the moment and the huge bloody hole in his chest had not recovered completely. Most importantly, Ling Xiao also sensed a trace of the heaven-burying poison's aura. The candle dragon was also poisoned by the heaven-burying poison. Ling Xiao, I didn't expect you to be such a scheming person. However, I'm afraid you're not qualified to be a fisherman. Since you want to die, I'll kill you again. The candle dragon said coldly as murderous intent surged around him. However, he was extremely cautious as he understood almost instantly that he had fallen into Ling Xiao's trap. The powerful battle prowess that Ling Xiao had displayed previously had already shocked him. Now that he had such a deep scheming mind, it made him even more fearful of Ling Xiao. Kill me? Try me then. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as he threw a punch out in the air. Rumble! Chaotic light shot out from his body as his fist print swept through the void, causing the mysterious scene of the destruction of the 3,000 worlds to appear behind him. The power of the epic intertwined and the punch seemed to have pierced through the river of time, destroying the 3,000 worlds as it pressed down on the candle dragon. The powerful aura that rushed towards him made the candle dragon's expression turn serious. He naturally did not have the terrifying chaos divine power of the heaven-burying Ant Queen. Hence, he understood that he could not take Ling Xiao's punch with his physical strength alone. Swoosh. He moved his feet and retreated tens of thousands of feet in an instant, widening the distance between him and Ling Xiao. Light gushed out of his palm and a strong suction force came. The candle dragon saber flew into his palm like a stream of light. With the candle dragon saber in his hand, the aura around him changed drastically. Chapter 3180. Boom. The candle dragon saber shone with a cold radiance as it slashed down from the sky. It was extremely sharp and wanted to chop off Ling Xiao's arm. Clang. Ling Xiao's punch sped up and collided with the candle dragon saber. The candle dragon saber hummed and an unparalleled divine power surged through. The candle dragon saber felt numb in his arm and almost flew out of his hand. Damn it! The candle dragon's face turned pale. He could only unleash 50% of his powerful cultivation. Not only was he severely injured, but he also had to divert some of his energy to suppress the heaven's burial poison. In the face of Ling Xiao's ferocious fist print, he was powerless. Rumble. After Ling Xiao forced the candle dragon to retreat with a punch, his attacks became even more ferocious. The chaos fist print came crashing down from the sky like a huge river that would never stop growing. In the face of Ling Xiao's ferocious fist print, the candle dragon was flustered and could not block it. The wounds on the candle dragon's body were torn and fresh blood was seeping out. At the same time, his arms were about to lose feeling. Candle dragon, don't you want the taboo saber spirit? Take my taboo saber first. Ling Xiao sneered and the saber essence in his eyes shot out. Rumble. A distorted space-time appeared in his hands and a terrifying saber radiance gathered to form a strange black saber. It was as if it did not exist in this world. It was extremely distorted and mysterious. As soon as the taboo saber appeared, Ling Xiao's aura changed drastically. Taboo saber? The candle dragon looked extremely solemn and a terrifying aura rose around him. The surrounding void was vibrating violently. The candle dragon saber in his hand shot out a dazzling radiance as if it had come back to life. It exuded a vast dragon power and a dragon roar at the same time. The candle dragon's aura became extremely sharp too. Boom. As Ling Xiao flew across the sky, the taboo saber slashed down and locked onto the candle dragon. The unparalleled saber radiance made the candle dragon feel chills all over his body. At that moment, he felt as if he had lost all his cultivation and was exposed to the boundless saber light. A deep sense of fear and helplessness arose in his heart. Although the candle dragon raised his candle dragon saber to counter it, the forbidden saber evaded the candle dragon saber strangely and slashed the candle dragon saber directly like a shadow. Why is this forbidden saber different from the one you just used? How is this possible? The candle dragon spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face instantly turned ghastly pale. His eyes were filled with disbelief. His Dao heart was as firm as a rock, but it was shattered by the forbidden saber. The forbidden blade that Ling Xiao used was completely different from the forbidden blade that he had used in the battle with the sky-burying Ant Queen. Although the saber strike was terrifying, it was aimed at the heaven-burying Ant Queen's body. However, the slash was invisible and it was aimed at the candle dragon's Dao heart. Caught off guard, his Dao heart was slashed apart. The Dao heart severing saber technique was so strange that he had never heard of it before. You're right. This is the real forbidden blade, the heaven-burying saber of Avicii Hell, the saber technique that buries the heaven's Dao heart. Candle dragon, you can rest in peace now that you're able to die under this saber. Ling Xiao said calmly with a sharp gaze in his eyes. Ling Xiao's voice was like the power of the heavens, causing the surrounding void to vibrate vigorously. The candle dragon could not suppress the fear in his heart at all, and even his body began to twist violently. His Dao heart was broken, and his battle intent dissipated when he faced Ling Xiao. His combat power was also greatly reduced. He felt a strong sense of danger. If he continued to fight with Ling Xiao, he would definitely die. The candle dragon was extremely decisive. He suppressed his broken Dao heart, and a blazing light rose around him. He immediately used the teleportation technique and flew into the distance. However, at this moment, the candle dragon did not realize that a ray of golden light had appeared in front of him silently and was biting his arm. It was a small golden snake that was as fast as lightning. It seemed to have been hiding around the candle dragon previously and seized the opportunity to bite the candle dragon's arm. Although the candle dragon reacted and wanted to slap the small golden snake away, he was still a step too late and was bitten. The candle dragon felt his arm go numb, and a black radiance immediately spread up his arm. Damn it! It's the origin of poison. The candle dragon's expression changed drastically, and his eyes were filled with anger. The terrifying poison surged into his body and started to erode his vitality. It also wanted to surge towards his primordial spirit. The poison was as terrifying as the heaven-burying poison. Most importantly, when the snake's poison surged into the candle dragon's body, the heaven-burying poison that was suppressed in the candle dragon's body started to move. Trying to escape? Unfortunately, it's too late. Ling Xiao said calmly. When the candle dragon heard what Ling Xiao said, his expression changed drastically as if his voice was a soul-sucking messenger. Ling Xiao, you're despicable. The candle dragon growled and his eyes were filled with resentment. If the candle dragon was at his peak, Xiao Jin would not be able to get close to him even though he was elusive, let alone bite him and leave the origin of poison in his body. However, the candle dragon was severely injured in the battle with the heaven-burying ant queen, and his Dao heart was broken by Ling Xiao's forbidden saber. As a result, he was terrified and wanted to escape. As a result, there was a flaw, and Xiao Jin took advantage of it. Now that the heaven-burying poison and Xiao Jin's snake's poison were intertwined, the candle dragon could not suppress it at all and exploded in his body instantly. The candle dragon spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body was shrouded by a black aura. He was emitting a pungent smell. Despicable? Weren't you despicable when you used Zhu Qin to gather all the trial takers to kill me? You lured the heaven-burying ant queen to kill me, but you wanted to reap the benefits. Aren't you despicable? Ling Xiao sneered as his eyes were filled with mockery. He walked towards the candle dragon, and his footsteps caused the void to tremble and the ground to rumble. It was as if he was stepping on the candle dragon's heart, and an extremely powerful aura pressed down on the candle dragon. Damn it! The candle dragon was extremely anxious. He felt an extremely strong sense of danger, and there was an unconcealable fear in his eyes. If he was in the Candle Dragon Imperial City and was protected by the rules of heaven, even a great emperor could not do anything to him, let alone the origin of poison. However, he had been greedy and put himself in danger by entering the burial desert. Now, he had even suffered a huge setback at the hands of Ling Xiao. He was already an arrow at the end of its flight and had no strength left to contend against Ling Xiao. Now, he was truly at his wit's end. Was the guardian of the Candle Dragon Imperial City really going to die here? Chapter 3181. Boom! Ling Xiao threw a punch and the chaotic fist print swept across the void, locking onto the candle dragon. An unparalleled fist intent exploded. The candle dragon's expression changed drastically. Caught off guard, he stretched out his arms to block the attack. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. The candle dragon's arms were shattered, and he was sent flying. He coughed out blood continuously. The blood at the corner of the candle dragon's mouth had turned black. It was as black as ink and emitted a strong stench. The heaven's burial poison and Xiao Gold's origin of poison intertwined and turned into an extremely terrifying poison. Even though the candle dragon was an unparalleled emperor, he could not suppress it anymore. Ling Xiao, how about we stop fighting? I'll let you leave Candle Dragon City safely. Don't be overbearing. Otherwise, without the guardian, you won't be able to leave Candle Dragon City. The candle dragon roared at Ling Xiao. Stop fighting? Don't you think it's too late? From the moment you set me up, we've been fighting to the death. Ling Xiao's eyes were cold and his voice was thunderous. However, he did not slow down at all. He threw another punch at the candle dragon. Rumble! The chaotic fist print was unparalleled. It was like a primordial mountain that suppressed the chaos. The candle dragon flew out again and blood spurted out of his mouth. Ling Xiao, do you really think I can't kill you? Don't go overboard. Otherwise, even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. The candle dragon roared furiously and his eyes were filled with exasperation. His hair and beard were fluttering and his body was stained with blood. He no longer looked as sage-like as before. Instead, he looked extremely haggard. He had lived for countless years and was the guardian of Candle Dragon City. The life and death of countless living beings were decided by him. He had always been in a superior position and had not experienced a life-and-death battle for a long time. However, the battle with Ling Xiao made him feel the threat of death. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes were as cold as steel. He ignored the candle dragon and continued to attack with his invincible fist print. The candle dragon's Taoist heart was broken by Ling Xiao. In addition to the poison in his body, he was only left with 10% to 20% of his strength. He was no match for Ling Xiao at all. He also didn't have the heaven-burying Ant Queen's insanely powerful physical body, so he couldn't withstand Ling Xiao's ferocious and domineering fist. Before long, his entire body shook violently, and his flesh was badly mangled. His physical body was almost annihilated under Ling Xiao's peerless fist intent. Damn it! Ling Xiao, since you want me to die, then let's die together. The candle dragon's eyes were filled with a crazy killing intent as he started to roar. Rumble! Endless blazing light instantly gushed out from his body, emitting a tyrannical and crazy aura. There seemed to be a mysterious cloud in the candle dragon's glabella that was intertwined with a 9-colored glow. At this moment, it suddenly flew out and engulfed Ling Xiao. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 9-colored rays of light intertwined like 9 brilliant light pillars, connecting the heavens and the earth. Instantly, Ling Xiao was sealed within. Heavenly Dao Qi! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, revealing a look of incomparable astonishment. The light pillars that were intertwined with the 9-colored rays of light were actually formed by the Heavenly Dao Qi. It contained an extremely powerful order of heaven that was sturdy and indestructible, sealing him within. However, the Heavenly Dao Qi was shapeless and intangible. Ling Xiao had never heard of anyone who could use the Heavenly Dao Qi to fight against their enemies. The candle dragon spat out another mouthful of blood and his face turned extremely pale. A mysterious rune appeared in the middle of his glabella, intertwining with the Heavenly Dao Qi. It was extremely terrifying. The mysterious rune lit up and the candle dragon's aura weakened rapidly. In the end, the rune flew towards Ling Xiao in the sky like a brilliant sun. On the other hand, the candle dragon had become a candle in the wind and looked like he was going to die at any moment. Let's die together! The candle dragon roared crazily. His entire body was engulfed by the origin of poison and turned pitch black. However, the madness in his eyes was terrifying. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly. He felt an extremely strong sense of danger from the rune. Unparalleled divine power exploded and he threw a punch at the light pillars around him. Clang, clang, clang. There was actually the sound of metal clashing. The 9 light pillars shook violently and shone brightly. However, they were extremely tough and firmly sealed Ling Xiao within them. The mysterious rune shone brightly and arrived in front of Ling Xiao in the blink of an eye. Then, it imprinted itself in the middle of his glabella. As if it was shapeless and intangible, Ling Xiao could not stop it at all. Boom! The mysterious rune imprinted itself in the middle of Ling Xiao's glabella and instantly shone brightly. Boundless Heavenly Dao Qi surged into Ling Xiao's consciousness and flew towards his primordial spirit. When it entered Ling Xiao's consciousness, the Heavenly Dao Qi actually started burning and turned into an ethereal fire of fate. It wanted to burn Ling Xiao's primordial spirit into ashes. The fire of fate was ethereal and intangible. It was extremely unique, but it was real. Even the dozens of origin of Dao fruits around Ling Xiao's primordial spirit could not stop it. At that moment, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was enveloped by the fire of fate. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit trembled slightly. He could even feel the pain of his primordial spirit burning up. At this moment, 3,000 mysterious streaks of light shot out from Ling Zhao's primordial spirit and vaguely formed the figure of the Fortune Jade Disc. The Fortune Jade Disc was ancient, mysterious, dignified, and unfathomable. Although the Fortune Jade Disc had already fused with Ling Zhao, an extremely mysterious, clear chi surged out from it and immediately collided with the fire of fate. Boom! Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness trembled violently. The fire of providence that had already ignited was actually extinguished directly. Afterwards, it turned into a tremendous amount of providence and slowly flew into Ling Zhao's soul. Ling Zhao's indestructible primordial spirit seemed to have eaten a great tonic. It shone brightly at that moment and its aura began to skyrocket. Ling Zhao's indestructible primordial spirit was already extremely powerful. After fusing with the heavenly Dao Qi, it seemed to have broken through some sort of bottleneck and reached the level of supreme emperors. Ling Zhao's indestructible primordial spirit was like a chaotic fiend god in his consciousness. It sat in the chaotic space with origin of Dao fruits around it. It seemed dignified and mysterious. Is this the candle dragon's heavenly Dao Qi? Ling Zhao slowly opened his eyes, and there was a look of understanding in his eyes. What? The candle dragon, who was laughing maniacally, suddenly stopped laughing. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes. Chapter 3182. The candle dragon could not believe that Ling Zhao was unscathed. He was the guardian of the Candle Dragon Imperial City and had the fate of heaven bestowed by the heavenly Dao. Today, he was forced to the extreme by Ling Zhao. He did not hesitate to burn his own indestructible primordial spirit and turn it into the fire of fate, wanting to completely annihilate Ling Zhao's indestructible primordial spirit. That was the Heaven Path Fate Fire. It was the power of the Heaven Path. The primordial spirit of any expert below the level of a great emperor could not withstand the burning of the Heaven Path Fate Fire. In his opinion, Ling Zhao would definitely die. Of course, he would die too. That was why he was so confident when he said that he would perish together with Ling Zhao. He did not want to use that move unless he had no other choice. However, he did not expect Ling Zhao to survive. That was beyond his imagination. Candle Dragon, I have to thank you for your Heaven Path Fate Fire. If you did not give it to me, it would not be so easy for me to take away your Heaven Path Fate Fire even if I killed you. Ling Zhao looked at the Candle Dragon and said with a faint smile. If the Candle Dragon was killed, the Heaven Path Fate Fire would be taken back by the Heaven Path instantly. It would be almost impossible for Ling Zhao to take it away completely. The Candle Dragon wanted to kill him, but he had helped him in the end. Impossible. That's impossible. But Ling Zhao, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. You will become the enemy of the entire Emperor Road of Eternity. The Candle Dragon's body trembled violently as he spat out blood continuously. His eyes were filled with resentment. However, his indestructible primordial spirit was destroyed and he was on the verge of death. The reason why he could last until now was because of his obsession. Ling Zhao's words made him explode in anger. In the end, the saint stopped abruptly and fell to the ground, dead. The guardian of the Candle Dragon Emperor City was dead. Phew. This old man is finally dead. Ling Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and mumbled to himself. He felt his entire body go limp and extremely weak. Although he had managed to break the Candle Dragon's Dao heart, he had basically used up all of his origin energy. If it were not for the fact that his body was strong enough to forcefully attack the Candle Dragon, it would have been difficult to tell who would have died. Fortunately, he managed to pull through. Little Gold, you've done a great service. Ling Zhao caressed Little Gold on his wrist and chuckled. If Xiao Jin had not given the Candle Dragon a fatal blow this time and caused him to be poisoned by the origin of poison, the Candle Dragon would have escaped. Once the Candle Dragon returned to the Candle Dragon Imperial City, it would be impossible for Ling Zhao to pass through the city. Hiss! Little Gold whined and rubbed its head against Ling Zhao's palm intimately. Its eyes were filled with delight. The two most terrifying existences in the Sky Burial Desert, the Sky Burial Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon, had both died. Ling Xiao was deep in thought as he looked at the corpses of the Candle Dragon and the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen. With my current combat strength, I can crush and kill high-level Imperial monarchs. However, it's still very difficult to defeat or even kill a peerless Imperial monarch. Ling Xiao thought to himself. He had relied on the Taboo Saber's power to injure the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon. Ling Xiao's combat strength might be able to fight against a peerless Imperial monarch, but it would be difficult for him to kill one. This time, if Ling Xiao had not schemed against the Candle Dragon and ended up as a fisherman, it would have been impossible for him to kill the Candle Dragon with the help of the Taboo Saber and Little Gold's power. If I had enough combat strength, why would I need to scheme against them? Whether it's the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen or the Candle Dragon, I would have killed them with a single punch. I still have a long way to go. Ling Xiao mumbled to himself. He realized his own shortcomings and knew what he should work towards. The most valuable thing about a person was to know himself. This was especially so for martial arts experts. Those who did not know themselves correctly were either dead or walking on the path of death. The Heaven-Burying Ant Queen was an ancient beast and the Candle Dragon was a guardian. Although they were powerful, they were still far from the peerless imperial monarchs of the past. Some of the peerless imperial monarchs were already peerless imperial monarchs before they sealed themselves. Moreover, it was easy for them to kill ordinary peerless imperial monarchs. There was still a huge gap between Ling Xiao and them. I will definitely be able to catch up to them before entering the last 12 imperial cities. Ling Xiao said slowly as a bright light shot out from his eyes. Swoosh! Ling Xiao waved his sleeves and immediately swept up the corpses of the Heaven-Burying Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon. Finally, Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the Candle Dragon saber. The Candle Dragon saber buzzed and was emitting a bright light. Saber chi spread and emitted an extremely ferocious aura. The Candle Dragon saber was the supreme treasure of the Candle Dragon tribe and the Candle Dragon was its true owner. Since the Candle Dragon was killed, the Candle Dragon saber naturally became an ownerless item. If this Candle Dragon saber was given to Ba Dao, he would be able to unleash the strongest combat strength with his hell-slaying saber. Ling Xiao reached out and grabbed the Candle Dragon saber. His eyes flickered as he thought to himself. The hell-slaying saber that Ling Xiao cultivated was a supreme saber technique that pointed directly to the Dao heart. It was invisible and intangible, making it impossible to guard against. There was no need for a powerful saber technique to supplement it. In comparison, the hell-slaying saber that Ba Dao cultivated was a supreme technique that pointed directly to the physical body. It could kill the physical body and destroy the primordial spirit. It was extremely ferocious. If he had the support of the Candle Dragon saber, he would definitely be invincible. The hell-slaying saber points to the Dao heart while the hell-slaying saber points to the physical body. Could it be that the remaining two forbidden saber techniques are directed to the primordial spirit and laws? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat as he secretly guessed. The legendary four forms of the forbidden blade were undoubtedly powerful, but Ling Xiao was also curious about them. Physical body, primordial spirit, laws, and Dao heart. Those were the four great Daos that a martial Dao expert had to cultivate. Previously, Ling Xiao became a martial sage with 4 Daos. However, before he attained the Dao and became an emperor, he might have his own focus. However, if he wanted to attain the Dao and become an emperor, he had to cultivate those 4 Daos to the extreme before he could sublimate them. If the 4 forbidden saber techniques were saber techniques that pointed directly to those 4 great Daos, it would make sense. It was indeed a martial technique left behind by a transcendent expert. I wonder who has the other 2 taboo saber styles? If I can exchange blows with them, it will definitely be beneficial. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Buzz. The Candle Dragon saber in his hand buzzed and the primordial spirit imprint that the Candle Dragon left behind had completely dissipated. Ling Xiao put away the Candle Dragon saber, then leaped up and flew into the distance. Since the Sky Burial Ant Queen and the Candle Dragon were dead, It was time to leave the Sky Burial Desert and return to the Candle Dragon Imperial City. However, what Ling Xiao didn't know was that the entire Candle Dragon Imperial City had begun to shake because of the Candle Dragon's death. Chapter 3183. Rumble. On the Eternal Emperor Road, the Candle Dragon Imperial City was like a giant beast that was hundreds of millions of feet tall, floating in the endless chaotic void. However, at this moment, the Candle Dragon Imperial City was shaking violently. Blazing light spewed out and the sky above the Candle Dragon Imperial City was filled with 9 colored clouds that were as vast as the sea. Moreover, there was a blood rain falling in the Candle Dragon Imperial City, which looked extremely eerie. The huge bounded domain that enveloped the entire Candle Dragon Imperial City was shattered at this moment. The entire Candle Dragon Imperial City began to fall into chaos. The heavenway boundary is broken and blood rain is falling from the sky. The Guardian has died. Someone trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. This strange phenomenon had not appeared for countless years. It was so long ago that ordinary cultivators did not understand what was going on. However, with the explanations of some of the old men, everyone understood. It turned out that only the fall of a guardian who had obtained the providence of the heavenly Tao would cause the heavenly Tao to sense it and produce such a phenomenon. How is this possible? The guardian is a peerless emperor. Who can kill him? That's right. The guardian has the heavenway fate. Even great emperors can't kill him in the ancestral Dragon Imperial City. Who is it that can actually kill Lord Guardian? The crowd was filled with doubts. I heard that Lord Guardian entered the Burial Desert, and the Burial Ant Queen in the Burial Desert went on a rampage. Countless burial ants swept through the Burial Desert, killing many challengers. Could it be the Burial Ant Queen? Someone guessed. Very likely. The Burial Ant Queen is also a peerless emperor. Moreover, there are endless burial ants in the Burial Desert. It's very likely that the Guardian died in there. If the Guardian is dead, doesn't that mean that we don't have to take the test and can pass the Candle Dragon Imperial City? That's right. Everyone, let's go and rush out of the Candle Dragon Imperial City. I heard that the Guardian has accumulated a huge amount of origin elixirs over the years. I guess it's in the Guardian's residence. Let's go and rob the Guardian's residence. Rob. Many people guessed that the Candle Dragon had been killed by the sky-burying Ant Queen. Without a Guardian in Candle Dragon Imperial City, there would be no spokesperson for the Heavenly Tao. Naturally, the so-called test would no longer exist. Many of the trial takers who came later were extremely excited. They knew better than anyone the consequences of not having a guardian. The entire Candle Dragon Imperial City was in chaos. The iron law that forbade killing in the Candle Dragon Imperial City had become a piece of paper. Many trial testers relied on their powerful strength to burn, kill, and loot in Candle Dragon Imperial City. Then, they took the treasures and left Candle Dragon Imperial City. Some ambitious people even set their sights on the Guardian's residence. After all, the accumulation of the Illumination Dragon clan over countless years could be said to be mostly in the Guardian's residence, which made many people extremely envious. Amongst them, the Fortune Building in Candle Dragon Imperial City was the biggest commercial building and many people had their eyes on it. The guards, servants, and shopkeepers of the Fortune Pavilions suffered heavy casualties. Many of the treasures were stolen. When Ba Dao, the Tower Master of Azure Heaven, Fairy Jinghong, and the others returned to Candle Dragon Imperial City, they saw the Fortune Building burned to the ground. Those bastards deserve to die. The Tower Master of Azure Heaven's face was red. Her eyes were burning with anger and her body was trembling violently. To a certain extent, the Fortune Building was her private property. Now, all of her subordinates had been killed by those bastards, and her treasures had also been stolen. Sister Azure Heaven, the Candle Dragon's death might have something to do with Ling Xiao. Our top priority should be to head to the Guardian's residence and get the Heaven Dao seal. Fairy Jinghong's eyes flashed as she said slowly, has something to do with Ling Xiao? Perhaps he died in Ling Xiao's hands. You're right. Whoever gets the Heaven Dao seal will become the new guardian. The Heaven Dao seal must not fall into the hands of those bastards. The Tower Master of Azure Heaven said through gritted teeth. That's right. Sister Azure Heaven, although they burned the fortune building, I'll compensate you with the Heaven Dao seal. With the Heaven Dao seal, you'll be the new guardian. Tong Tong said with a smile. Since that's the case, let's kill our way over and get the Heaven Dao seal. Ba Dao said slowly with a murderous look in his eyes. Ling Xiao was still in the burial desert. The Heaven Dao seal must be in the hands of their own people to ensure Ling Xiao's safety. If those with evil intentions were to get the Heaven Dao seal, Ling Xiao would be in danger. Everyone understood this point. Without any hesitation, they all soared into the sky and charged towards the central region of the Candle Dragon Imperial City. The central region of the Candle Dragon Imperial City was where the Guardian's residence was located. It was also the ancestral land of the Candle Dragon tribe. The entire Candle Dragon tribe was shrouded in a sorrowful atmosphere after the Candle Dragon's death. However, when it rains, it pours. Outside the Guardian's residence, thousands of experts gathered and continuously attacked the defensive formation of the Guardian's residence. Rumble. Blazing light flickered and runes shattered. The defensive formation outside the Guardian's residence was being bombarded by the crowd. Streaks of blazing light landed on the formation barrier. Powerful weapons fell from the sky, causing the entire Guardian's residence to tremble violently. The people outside the Guardian's residence were divided into three major forces. Two of them were led by Feng Fan and Ing Yilong. The leader of the other major force was a cold-looking young man in brown clothes with short hair. His eyes were bright, and he was very domineering. He was bare-handed, but his whole body exuded a powerful fist intent that could destroy the world. The trial takers behind him all looked at him with awe and respect in their eyes. The cold-looking young man took a step forward and a terrifying aura rose around him. Then he threw a punch in the air. An unparalleled fist intent exploded and swept out in all directions like a storm. That punch was extremely violent. In an instant, it landed on the formation barrier of the Guardian's residence, causing the barrier to tremble violently. Runes collapsed one after another as if it was going to be broken at any time. This, as expected of the Fist Emperor. What a terrifying fist technique! Someone exclaimed and his eyes were filled with shock. Boom, boom, boom. Every punch of the cold-looking young man called the Fist Emperor was like a meteor. It was extremely fast and powerful. It was domineering and terrifying, causing great damage to the formation barrier. His strength alone was comparable to the destructive power of hundreds of trial takers. It was truly terrifying. Even Feng Fan and Ing Yilong's eyes were filled with seriousness. This Emperor of Fist made them feel extremely threatened. Chapter 3184. Brother Feng, this Fist Emperor is very strong. Why don't we team up and kill him first? Ing Yilong's eyes flickered as he glanced at Feng Fan and said with a smile. Behind Ing Yilong, only 3 of the 8 dragon rulers were left. In the Sky Burial Desert, Ling Xiao had attracted the Sky Burial Ants. Ing Yilong, Feng Fan, and Zhu Chen had fought their way out, but they had suffered great losses. After returning to the Candle Dragon Imperial City, they had initially planned to leave the Candle Dragon Imperial City and head to the next Imperial City. However, to their surprise, the Guardian Zhu Jiuyin had died. Both of them had a special thought in their minds. If they could wield the Heaven Dao seal and become the guardian of the Candle Dragon Imperial City, it would be better than fighting for their lives on the Eternal Emperor's Road, right? Under their call, many trial challengers and geniuses gathered around them. Sure. A bright light flashed in Feng Fan's eyes as he nodded. The Fist Emperor made both of them feel extremely threatened. That incomparably fierce Fist Prince seemed to be able to annihilate everything. As expected of the Emperor of Fists, it made them feel as if they were facing Ling Xiao in a trance. The Fist Emperor wore a black boxing glove on one of his arms. It flowed with a mysterious light and emitted a cold light. It allowed the Fist Emperor to possess an incomparably terrifying battle prowess. With a raise of his hand, he could pose a great threat to the spirit formation before him. Without the Guardian Zhu Jiuyin's suppression, the formation barrier of the Guardian's residence could not withstand the attacks of the trial challengers. In particular, some of the stronger trial challengers and geniuses had not only cultivated powerful emperor arts, but also possessed extreme emperor weapons. Under this kind of crazy bombardment, the formation boundary quickly dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Rumble! A frenzied killing intent burst out from the Fist Emperor's eyes. In the next moment he leaped up, and the vital energy and blood around him rose. Unparalleled fist intent gathered, causing his arm to swell up intensely. It turned into a huge fist that came crashing down from the sky. That punch was like a falling star. It was extremely fast and contained the power to pierce through everything. It instantly blasted on the array barrier and blasted it apart. The runes exploded one after another, and turned into a bright rain of light that sprinkled down. The array formation had been broken. The trial takers and geniuses outside the Guardian Envoy's residence were all pleasantly surprised. They quickly rushed into the Guardian Envoy's residence. "Get out of my way!" The Fist Emperor's cold voice rang out. He swept out with a punch, immediately causing the dozen or so trial takers in front of him to retreat while coughing up blood. Their eyes were filled with rage, but they did not dare to say anything. "The heavenly Tao seal is mine. Anyone who stands in my way shall die," the Fist Emperor said domineeringly. His sharp gaze swept across the crowd, and no one dared to look him in the eye. The Fist Emperor seemed to be very satisfied with this result. He turned around and strode toward the Guardian's residence. "Kill without mercy for trespassing into the ancestral land of the Illumination Dragon clan." A cold voice came from the Guardian's residence. The Illumination Dragon expert's eyes were filled with shock and anger as they charged towards the Fist Emperor. "With just you guys?" The Fist Emperor sneered. He did not stop in his tracks and was still very fast. Facing the Illumination Dragon experts who were charging towards him, he threw out a punch. The unparalleled fist print suppressed the surroundings as if it was splitting the world apart. It contained supreme divine power and instantly shattered the Illumination Dragon expert in front of him, exploding into a bloody mist in the void. Boom, boom, boom. The Fist Emperor strode over like a tiger in a flock of sheep. His fist was extremely terrifying and suppressed the surroundings. The experts of the Illumination Dragon tribe who were rushing towards him were either killed or torn to pieces. No one was his match. Many trial takers and geniuses also charged into the Guardian's residence. While fighting the Illumination Dragon experts, they searched everywhere for the Heavenly Tao seal. The entire Guardian's residence fell into a sea of corpses and blood. Zhu Jiuyin was the strongest expert of the Illumination Dragon clan, and Zhu Chen was a genius of the Illumination Dragon clan. When they entered the burial desert, they brought many Illumination Dragon Imperial Emperors with them, but all of them died inside. Now that the Illumination Dragon clan was extremely empty, how could they be a match for those powerful trial takers? Although the Illumination Dragon clan was fearless and kept charging forward to fight with those trial takers, the huge difference still caused the Illumination Dragon clan to be defeated continuously and retreat to the depths of the residence. In the center of the Guardian's residence, there was a huge altar that emitted 9-colored light and was filled with vast heavenly might. A mysterious ancient seal floated above the altar, as if it controlled the supreme authority of billions of living beings. It was daunting. Heavenly Tao seal. There was no need for anyone to explain. Immediately, the same thought appeared in everyone's minds and their eyes became extremely passionate. This was the authority bestowed by the Heavenly Tao seal. As long as they could refine the Heavenly Tao seal, they would be able to control the Illumination Dragon Imperial City and become the guardian of the Illumination Dragon Imperial City. This was an irresistible temptation for many people. At this moment, The remaining members of the Illumination Dragon clan had already retreated to the surroundings of the nine-colored altar. Their eyes were filled with despair. Could it be that the Illumination Dragon clan was going to be exterminated today? Get lost. The Heavenly Tao seal is mine. Those who block me will die. The Fist Emperor's eyes burned and his voice was like thunder. His fist was like a dragon, shattering everything. The Illumination Dragon experts in front of him were all killed by him. Even the trial takers and geniuses who could not dodge in time were implicated. The Fist Emperor seemed to have gone berserk as he strode towards the altar. Be it the people of the Illumination Dragon clan or the trial takers, they all died in his hands. A thick stench of blood permeated the air. Severed limbs were everywhere. The Guardian Envoy's residence had turned into an Azura hell. The Fist Emperor arrived below the nine-colored altar. His gaze landed on the Heavenly Path seal, and his eyes burned with passion. However, at this moment, there was the sound of something tearing through the air. It was extremely fast. It was a golden arrow that was blazing and resplendent. Wherever it went, the void seemed to have solidified. It contained the power to pierce through everything as it shot towards the Fist Emperor's glabella. Clang. There was a loud clang that shook the void in all directions. 4 incomparably powerful figures holding black war spears also charged towards the Fist Emperor. You're courting death. The Fist Emperor's eyes were filled with killing intent. Vast fist intent surged out from his body and the gloves on his arms emitted a deep light. The golden arrow had already reached the Fist Emperor's glabella, but at this moment, it seemed to have been distorted by some kind of power and flew out diagonally. However, it still left a bloody mark on the Fist Emperor's face. Chapter 3185. Rumble. A sharp killing intent shot out from the Fist Emperor's eyes. His entire being was shrouded in a frenzied aura. Only now did he realize that it was Feng Fan who had shot the golden arrows at him. The 4 figures were none other than Ying Yilong and the 3 dragon monarchs. The 4 of them attacked with all their might, displaying their supreme emperor techniques. Their attacks seemed to be able to pierce through everything, aiming for the Fist Emperor's vital points. All of you deserve to die. The Fist Emperor's voice was low and hoarse, containing a trace of intense killing intent. He threw out 4 punches in succession. Each punch was ferocious and domineering to the extreme, as if they could annihilate everything. He didn't dodge at all, instantly clashing with Ying Yilong and the others. Asterisk clang. Clang, clang, clang. Asterisk sparks flew in all directions. Ying Yilong and the others couldn't help but tremble. The black war spears in their hands vibrated incessantly, and an unparalleled divine force was transmitted from the war spears. The 4 of them were simultaneously sent flying. Rumble. The Fist Emperor stomped his foot, and his entire body shot up like lightning, punching towards Feng Fan. Asterisk swoosh. 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 Asterisk Feng Fan's eyes were cold. The golden bow in his hand locked onto the Fist Emperor. His fingers moved like afterimages, and golden arrows shot out like dazzling light, drowning the Fist Emperor in an instant. Rumble. The Fist Emperor's fist was ferocious and domineering. It was as if he didn't know what fear was. Facing the golden arrows, the tyrannical aura in the Fist Emperor's heart was stimulated. The golden arrows were directly blasted away by the Fist Emperor. However, the arrows were incomparably sharp, and they also pierced through the Fist Emperor's arms and body, turning him into a bloody mess. Gotcha. Exchanging injury for injury, the Fist Emperor arrived in front of Feng Fan in an instant. He punched down, causing the void to explode. Feng Fan's expression changed, and he raised his golden bow to meet the enemy. A powerful emperor's aura gushed out from the golden bow, protecting Feng Fan like a barrier. However, the Fist Emperor's punch was incomparably domineering. It instantly broke the barrier and slammed into the golden bow, causing it to tremble violently. Feng Fan was also sent flying. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Ying Yilong and the others joined up with Feng Fan and surrounded the Fist Emperor. Kill him. Feng Fan and Ying Yilong exchanged glances. Killing intent flashed in their eyes as they both charged toward the Fist Emperor. They all felt the great threat of the Fist Emperor. The more it was so, the stronger their desire to kill the Fist Emperor became. Otherwise, with the Fist Emperor around, it would be impossible for them to snatch the Heaven Path Seal. Rumble. The Fist Emperor was fighting 1 against 5, and his battle intent soared into the sky. Although he was fighting a bloody battle, he was not at a disadvantage at all. As for Feng Fan, Ying Yilong, and the others, they were able to unleash an incomparably powerful killing power. Feng Fan's golden divine arrow was extremely sharp and could pierce through everything. Together with the golden bow, an extreme Dao imperial weapon, it could pose a great threat to the Fist Emperor. In addition, Ying Yilong and the other three's teamwork was extremely ingenious. Combining long-range and melee attacks, they actually managed to trap the Fist Emperor. It would not be easy to determine the victor in a short period of time. As for the other trial challengers and Sky Prides, they all had their own ulterior motives. When they saw the Fist Emperor, Feng Fan, Ying Yilong, and the others fighting among themselves, they all had their own ulterior motives. They kept charging toward the altar to kill the experts of the Illumination Dragon tribe, waiting for an opportunity to snatch the Heaven Path Seal. Rumble. The 9-colored altar was shrouded in a mysterious light. It looked ancient and majestic, and there was a mist around it that intertwined with a vast heavenly might. The Heaven Path Seal at the top was everyone's target. However, at this moment, no one could get close to it. The 9-colored altar had an extremely powerful defense. Ordinary people would not be able to break through it in a short period of time. Once they entered the 9-colored altar, with the help of the numerous trial challengers and Sky Prides, everyone was pinned down. However, at this moment, a figure quietly arrived. It was a woman in a long white dress with a veil covering her face. Although her face could not be seen clearly, she exuded a peerless aura. Rumble. She stretched out a slender palm and gently patted the 9-colored altar's barrier. In an instant, heaven and earth shook as blazing divine light erupted. The 9-colored altar's barrier shattered with a loud bang. The white-clothed woman directly passed through the layers of light and entered the 9-colored altar, grabbing at the Heaven Path Seal. "You're courting death." At this moment, Feng Fan caught a glimpse of the white-clothed woman from the corner of his eye. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as he shot the golden arrow in his hand towards the white-clothed woman. "Put down the Heaven Path Seal. You want to pick peaches? You're courting death. Kill her." Many trial challengers were also alarmed. All of them were furious, and their eyes were filled with killing intent and anger. They all gave up on attacking each other and charged towards the white-clothed woman at the same time. Buzz. The white-clothed woman waved her sleeve, and a mysterious heaven and earth chi rose from her sleeve, transforming into an incomparably powerful heaven and earth boundary that enveloped her. As if she did not hear the crowd's berating, she still reached out to grab the Heaven Path Seal. Boom! The Heaven Path Seal suddenly spewed out a dazzling light, and mysterious runes appeared one after another. A vast and terrifying heaven's might erupted, as if it wanted to annihilate everything in its surroundings. However, the white-clothed woman's clothes fluttered in the wind, and her hair fluttered in the wind. Her entire body did not move at all. Her palm was sparkling like jade, and it was filled with an immortal luster. The Heaven Path Seal trembled violently, as if it was about to fly out of the white-clothed woman's hand at any moment. The white-clothed woman formed a seal with both hands, creating afterimages. Runes flew out one after another, constantly striking the Heaven Path Seal. Buzz. A mysterious ancient mirror floated above the white-clothed woman's head. The ancient mirror was black on one side and white on the other. The aura of life and death interweaved, and it was incomparably powerful. As the ancient mirror appeared, a mysterious green lotus bloomed, causing the white-clothed woman's surroundings to be enveloped in a mysterious aura of primal chaos. That heaven and earth boundary also became sturdy and immortal. Boom! The golden divine arrow struck the boundary, causing it to tremble violently. However, it was unable to penetrate the heaven and earth boundary. Everyone's attacks landed on the heaven and earth boundary, but it only caused ripples to appear on the boundary, and then it was annihilated in an instant. The Heaven Path seal? Let me see if the Heaven Path is here or not. An ethereal voice rang out. The white-clothed woman did not seem to care about the surrounding attacks at all. She directly sat down cross-legged on the 9-colored altar. The space between her eyebrows glowed, and mysterious runes flickered, vaguely reflecting a mysterious figure. The Heaven Path seal seemed to be suppressed, and it slowly floated up. It flew to the space between her eyebrows, and began to intertwine with the light between her eyebrows. Chapter 3186. Rumble. Many trial challengers were enraged. They attacked the barrier around the white-robed lady in a frenzy. Each of them unleashed powerful emperor techniques and took out their strongest emperor weapons in an attempt to annihilate the white-robed lady. They were fighting with their lives on the line and were about to get the Heaven Path seal. They did not expect the white-robed lady to snatch it from them. Moreover, the white-robed lady's attitude was blatant disregard. Everyone, let's kill her. Refining the Heaven Path seal is not something that can be done in a short period of time. Let's kill her and snatch the Heaven Path seal. How dare she look down on us? Does she really think that she can withstand all of our attacks? Everyone was enraged as they shouted with righteous indignation. Even the King of Fist, Feng Fan, Ying Ilong, and the others had given up on fighting. Their eyes were cold as they charged towards the 9-colored altar. Boom, boom, boom. The King of Fist's unparalleled fist print was like an ancient sacred mountain. It pressed down from the sky as though it could break everything. The Heaven Path seal shook violently. Feng Fan's golden arrows shot out continuously. They were like golden lightning that contained the power to pierce through everything. When they landed on the Heaven Path seal, they shattered one rune after another. Ying Yifun and the other dragon kings held black war spears in their hands. They were like black dragons that could destroy the world. They roared as they charged forward, causing the light of the Heaven Path seal to dim. Although the white-clothed woman's heaven and earth boundary was very strong, and it had the support of the ancient mirror and the mysterious green lotus, under the constant attacks of the trial challengers, it was quickly weakened. It trembled violently as if it would shatter at any moment. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Ba Dao, Fairy Jinghong, and the others had arrived. The Heaven Path seal has been snatched away? Ba Dao's eyes shone brightly as he looked at the 9-colored altar. He was filled with a strong fighting spirit. It has indeed been snatched away. That person is the Empress. Fairy Jinghong nodded. However, when she saw the white-robed figure on the 9-colored altar, she could not help but tremble. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Is it really Her Majesty? The Tower Master of Jade Fall shuddered as well. Her eyes were filled with excitement. That's right. Yes, Her Highness the Empress, these people deserve to die. How dare you besiege Her Majesty? Fairy Jinghong nodded. Her eyes were filled with fanatical adoration. Finally, she swept her gaze across the trial challengers and geniuses. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a strong killing intent. Damn it! Jinghong, the enchantment set up by Her Majesty the Empress would probably be broken soon. Let's hurry over and protect Her Majesty, the Jade Fall Manor Master hurriedly said. All right. Fairy Jinghong nodded her head. The many geniuses of the feather race behind her were equally fanatical as their battle intent shot through the heavens. Your Majesty? Ba Dao's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. Brother, the Empress that Sister Jinghong mentioned is very powerful. But since she's one of us, let's protect her first. Tong Tong's eyes were solemn as he said slowly. Although Ba Dao was curious, he knew that someone who Tong Tong said was very powerful must be extraordinary. But he knew that the situation was urgent, so he didn't ask too much. Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jade Fall took the lead. Ba Dao followed closely behind as they charged towards the 9-colored altar. Rumble. Their attacks were incomparably sharp, containing the power to destroy the heavens and earth. It was as if they could destroy everything. The trial challengers and geniuses all thought that Fairy Jinghong and the others were here to snatch the Heaven Dao seal and attack the Xianhuang enchantment, so they didn't pay much attention to them. But soon they were in trouble. Domineering Blade finally saw how powerful a woman could be when she was angry. Almost instantly, more than 10 trial challengers had their physical bodies smashed by Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall. Then, their primordial spirits were turned into ashes. Fairy Jinghong and the Tower Master of Jadefall seemed to have gone completely berserk as they exploded with terrifying killing power. Fairy Jinghong spread her wings and was extremely fast. She held an ancient sword in her hand, and sword chi filled the sky. Countless people died under her sword, their souls scattered. The Tower Master of Jadefall seemed to be surrounded by a river of the underworld. The river water rolled over, and anyone who was swept by the river had their physical bodies corroded. Even their primordial spirits only lasted for a moment before disappearing without a trace. The Empress that they were talking about seemed to provide them with endless motivation, allowing them to explode with terrifying battle strength. In an instant, they tore a hole in the enchantment. Clang! Ba Dao didn't slow down at all. A sharp sword light slashed down like the Milky Way descending from the 9 heavens. It was snow-white and dazzling. It killed a few trial challengers, and then forced the others to retreat. They leaped up and flew to the Xianhuang enchantment to protect the white-robed woman. "Who are you people? Fairy Jinghong of the Feather Tribe? Damn it, they're with that white-robed woman." "So what if she's Fairy Jinghong? The Heaven Dao seal is mine. Anyone who stands in my way will die." Many trial challengers and geniuses were shocked and angry. They all shouted loudly, their eyes filled with incomparably cold killing intent. They actually came out alive. Feng Fan and Tilong also looked at each other, and a trace of bewilderment appeared in their eyes. They're all still alive. That Ling Xiao can't be still alive, right? Could it be that the death of the Guardian has something to do with Ling Xiao? Ying Yilong's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Impossible. Even if that Ling Xiao didn't die, how could he be a match for the Guardian? The Guardian's death should be caused by the heaven-burying Ant Queen. Don't make wild guesses. The most important thing now is to snatch the Heaven Dao seal. Feng Fan shook his head. That's right. As long as we get the Heaven Dao seal, even if that Ling Xiao is still alive, as long as he dares to enter Candle Dragon Imperial City, he will die without a burial ground. Ying Yilong gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with incomparable resentment. Scram! The Fist Emperor roared, killing intent boiling in his eyes. He shattered Qi Lei's saber light with a punch and his gaze landed on Ba Dao. He felt a strong threat from Ba Dao's body, causing the battle intent around him to burn even more fiercely. "You're very strong." Ba Dao's eyes flashed as he also saw the Fist Emperor. "You're not bad either. Come. If you can take 3 of my punches, I'll spare your life." The Fist Emperor sneered. The vast fist intent around him rose, and without the slightest hesitation, he pounced towards Ba Dao. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.